Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports. When
It comes to
Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
TexAgs Live.
I feel like I should be listening to the theme song from the Jeffersons. You know, we're moving on up.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
It's been special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
Anything outside of wins, plural, right? Obviously, we want to see our programs do great.
Yeah.
But what would make you feel like Texas A&M is on the right path? You know, there's benchmarks, OB.
Okay.
Football, right path, I would assume, is 9-10 wins, the right path.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Basketball, I think that basketball is on a nice path. Unfortunately, this group, they're going to have to reset, reboot, right? It's going to be a new season of the show. And baseball obviously does not feel like they're on the right path. So, and the other sports, I feel like they're all on the right path and maybe even exceeding expectations. But for you to feel like Texas A&M athletics are on the right path in 25 to 26, right? So considering where we are right now in the season, in the year, the academic calendar, so I'm looking ahead. What makes you feel like, yes, A&M athletics is on the right path?
What makes me feel it, or what would make me feel it?
What will make you feel it? Because right now, I think that we're in a moment of, I don't know, right? That's an I don't know moment.
Well, you know.
Or I know that they're not. Those are the two feelings I feel like.
You know, 9 to 10 wins in football.
So it is.
I mean,
it is a benchmark of wins, right?
Yeah. What else is there? Why are we doing it?
Right. Why are we keeping score?
And if we keep staying in the 8-4, 7-5, we're not making any progress. Basketball is getting into the tournament. Now, look, I'll get this. It may be unlikely to get into the tournament as we sit here today, but after getting in the tournament for 3 years, I can give some grace that, hey, you have a year to reset, like you just said. That happens. It's like, I don't mind the 8-4 season in football if it comes like once every 4 or 5 years. The other years you win 9 or 10 games. That's the way it should be. Every now and then you have to reset. Baseball.
It feels like they're a couple years away because this group.
Well, it feels like they're spiraling.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, you know, you're a game away, a run away from winning, or at least almost, going extra innings in the for the national championship, and now you can't get a run across. If I saw somebody on our thread the other day, because I was keeping up with the baseball game, I think on Friday or Saturday, and the Aggies were up 1-0 for a while, and then it was 1-1, and then I think there was a 2-run homer, and it's 3-1, and people on the thread are saying, okay, it's over, and I understand that. If you get down 1, you think you can still claw 1 back. If you get down 2, you feel like it's
insurmountable.
So, baseball. Hopefully they're falling and they've got a bungee cord attached, not a noose.
Yeah.
And then the other sports, I was joking with Reed earlier today. I said for a century, A&M didn't have women, and now we're a women's sports school.
Yeah.
Because volleyball's doing great, softball's done great,
women's golf, women's tennis.
I don't know what the equestrian's doing.
They always do well,
but they always do well. Do you give credit? Is it to the women? I mean, what if you have a male horse? The horse has got to get some of the credit. Basketball.
I don't know how to answer this question.
Yeah, basketball's got to make some improvement. For the most part, the women's sports are doing track and field. Yep. Both are doing well. So I feel like in those sports, A&M is not just on track or on pace, but they're excelling.
I think to to most fans, I don't even want to say the casual, to the most fans, the other sports are very important, but you are graded on the big three.
Of course you are.
And those sports become more important when the big three are really good.
Those sports don't exist without the big three, especially football, the big one.
Thank goodness we got those other sports.
Yeah, I mean, I root for them. Like I told you, I remember watching I was at my wife's Christmas party at Walk-Ons, and they had the volleyball game on between, was it, I always want to say Nebraska, but was it Wisconsin?
I think it was, yeah.
And I'm into it.
Yeah, I remember that.
You know?
That was a great, I was watching that one.
Now, I'll say this. I did not know, and I should know this, but I did not know if you go to 5 sets, the last game is only 15 points. So I'm like, okay, it's a 15. I was like, and they're, what's going on? I'm like,
It's over.
"Oh, crap. Yeah, so I'm getting into those sports. I want them to win. I want Trisha Ford to do great and all those things. But football, men's basketball, baseball, that's where I think the athletic department is ultimately judged. It's kind of like basketball season. You can have a great regular season, but you're ultimately judged by what you do in March Madness. So you can have a great program in the quote non-revenue sports, but you're ultimately judged as an athletic program by what you do in the high-profile sports.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, So, is there anything that can happen over the next 6 months? Okay, before the season starts, 4 or 5 months before football starts, that you can be like, yeah, I feel like we're on the right direction as an athletic department.
Well, the baseball team could start hitting. I mean, that might be a pipe dream at this point, maybe even a crack pipe dream. But if they started hitting with the pitching they're getting, especially starting pitching.
And here's one: if Buzz does really well in the portal,
yeah,
right, he picks up a couple names. You're like, okay, this guy averages 35 points.
Okay. But if you pick up names, because I'll say this, Pharrell Payne was a godsend.
Yeah.
But did you ever hear of him before they got
No, but I was excited about him. But I was like, if we're lucky, this is what I thought. If we're lucky, he's Julius Marble level good.
Oh, so much better than Julius
So
Marble.
much. But that was my thinking when they first picked him up. If he's this level, that's a great pickup.
So if you can pick up another guy to make the impact like Pharrell has made, but from the guard position, and then if you come up with a couple of other guys that are good, solid players, then maybe you got something.
Here's what I really want. Yes, I would love a guard who can score. I would love, but I would love to see them go after the Dexter Dennises of the world, the Anderson Garcias of the world, those tweener players that I think sometimes are overlooked.
You got 8 guys to fill up.
You're right, and you get a guy that dives for loose balls every play. Like those kind of guys are the fabric of a Buzz team, and then you got to bring in some efficient shooters.
Look, I love the guys that dive for balls and make a play. Glue guy. They'll do things that, the hard work or the dirty work. Per se. But unless you get some guys that can consistently shoot the ball, I'm afraid that you're going to be kind of like the football team stuck 8-4. Yeah, you can get into the tournament, but I'm afraid that moving past the first round or into the second weekend is going to be unlikely.
Yeah, I'm not, as of this point, it's a to be continued story, right? This chapter has ended. This chapter, these 8 seniors, I consider them a book in the Aggie basketball story, right? There's a new book opening, right? Pharrell Payne will hopefully be a guy who crosses both, right? So whoever we add to this, the new book might start better than the last book.
It might. Again, Buzz has done some very impressive work in the transfer portal. From guys going back to Boots and Henry and Dexter Dennis, Pharrell Payne, Anderson Garcia. I mean, those are good players.
I'm going to answer this for football, though. I don't think there's anything football can do until December 1st to let me think that they're on the right path.
Well, I think if they beat Notre Dame.
I'll feel good. But, like, big wins followed by big wins. Not a big win. See you later, right? I want to see, for me to feel they're on the right path, I will know in November at some point But December 1st, all right, we just finished playing Texas in Austin. We just, we beat Notre Dame, hopefully. We beat up. But it's got to be an entire season, not 3/4 of the season.
Okay.
Because that's what we just had. We just had 3/4 of a season really good.
We had a really nice
8 weeks.
September.
7 weeks.
Should have won against Notre Dame.
Should have.
If your quarterback didn't get hurt.
Right.
Maybe you would have. And then you went on that nice run, and then there was that collapse.
Yeah.
As soon as you got all the attention. What is it? It seems like as a program,
Finishing?
that when the expectations and the pressure get higher, with the exception of baseball last year. Baseball last year was looking that way again, struggling against Texas.
And they turned it on.
All of a sudden, you got a break and you took advantage of it.
Yep.
Struggling against Oregon, and then Kent has a grand slam and it's over. But you get into November in football, fell apart.
I'm going to turn our attention to a topic that it gets me going. It may get you going. Are you familiar with Haley Monroe?
No. Who is Haley Monroe?
Nick, I think I forgot to tell you to get the video of it. Do you have it? Oh, so Haley Monroe. Sorry, Nick is on. I didn't even, usually my color coding, he knows when to get video.
Yeah.
Haley Monroe is a young lady who scored 12 points in a playoff loss in New York high school basketball.
Okay.
And her head coach, Jim Zullo, if you're listening on The Zone, I'll have to explain it to you later. Watch this coach. Watch the coach.
Oh, yeah. He
pulled the ponytail, ripped into her. His niece is that lady the player who stepped in between and told him, no, that's not going to happen right there. Jim Zullo was just fired. What would Olin Buchanan do if he had a niece, or you do have a niece, or a daughter that the coach pulled her ponytail aggressively like that?
Yeah, if it was aggressively, I'd probably deal with it.
That was pretty aggressive.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I'm not that guy that got mad at Jimbo Fisher when he grabbed.
I didn't care about that.
When he grabbed Terrell Dodson's face mask. Now, if you grab it and yank it where they could get hurt, that's one. So if you grab the ponytail to get their attention, I'm not saying yank it like that, but hey, lightly do it. Hey, I need to talk.
I think a little tap on the shoulder works.
I'm just saying that if it's the equivalent of a tap on the shoulder, I give coaches a lot of leeway, but there is a certain line you don't cross. I think
that coach is losing his arm if it's my daughter.
Maybe this makes me misogynist.
Yeah,
but I probably do have a less grace for the coach when they're dealing with girls or women than men.
Yeah,
maybe I shouldn't be that way, but if you're going to grab Tyrell Dodson's face mask, and I felt like when I played in high school, my coach's hand was just an attachment to my face mask. He was so mad at me so many times. It was different
when we were growing up. Grabbing the face mask was part of coaching.
Yeah, so I'm not that guy that's going to get too worked up over something like that.
Don't put your hand on my daughter.
Now they get upset if you are too mean as a coach. They fired a coach at Texas Tech, a women's coach, a few years ago because she was just too mean. I don't get that. But yes, if you do something that could inflict physical pain, I think you've crossed the line and need to be dealt with. And he was fired, and I don't think it's necessarily.
He's lucky he got fired because I'm assuming, is it Haley Monroe's father? Probably wanted to settle that score himself.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
He's probably better off that he did not.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, what are you going to do? But really, you're going to go
I'm going to break that old man's arm. That's all I'm going to do.
You're going to go beat up an 80-year-old man?
Yes, I am. You touch my daughter, yes, I don't care. It's over. It's a wrap. That's how you've been around me long enough. You know that's how I'd operate.
Yeah, I would hope enough people would be around you to hold you back.
It'd be the wrong decision. It would be.
Yeah.
But it's still going to happen. I'll deal with it.
People would understand, but they would have said, I saw, one time, this is off sports, but I saw a video, about a lot of people probably saw it because it went viral, of a priest baptizing a baby and got upset when slapped the baby.
Yeah, that priest is done.
That priest would have been knocked out.
He's getting a guillotine choke 100%, and I'm going to baptize myself with him in the water.
Yeah. But I can understand the guy crossed the line and getting fired for that. Because that wasn't just a hey, I want your attention. That was, I'm mad at you and I'm gonna,
Does the age matter? High school, middle school, death. done.
Well, I think the age that matters is on the coach. When you get up in the 80s, maybe I shouldn't say this because I'm fastly approaching, but maybe you don't have your faculties the way you used to.
Well, anyway, speaking of faculties, let's see if you've got your memory hat on. What's the name of this show?
Oh, well, this show, TexAgs Live. You mean?
Okay, yes, and that has a presenting sponsor.
Yes, it does. David Gardner's Jewelers.
And we're currently
like a steel trap.
Look at that. We're currently in what? What do we call this? This area, this room?
The Rollo Insurance Studio.
That's correct.
Jason Rollo.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
He is.
And the hour, the particular
Go Hour,
presented by
CC Creations. I thought you thought I was forgetting.
Yeah, I thought you forget. By the way, what does the Go Hour stand for?
Well, originally it was Gabe and Olin.
Correct.
Now it's just, hey, you're going to work, you're listening to us, go. It's time to go.
In this particular area, we've carved out a little area for us to hang out with in the opening segment of the show. We call it the what?
We call it the Holistic Planning Cool Zone.
And I'm just curious if you know, I'm not sure. What do they do at Holistic Planning?
Oh, they do a whole lot of cool things, because money is cool.
Yeah.
I like it. You like it. We all like it. Who doesn't like it?
Big love.
And so they're going to help you with your investment so you can make some of that money. And taxes coming up, so they're going to help you with your taxes so you can keep more of that money. And then they're going to help you with your estate planning. Why? Mm-hmm. So you'll have money when it's time to retire. I'm getting close. So when it's time to retire, you want some money so you can do all the cool things that you haven't had time or money to do before. And they're going to help you with that. And one of the ways they're going to help you with that is you can invest in what?
I believe it's pro sports.
It is pro sports.
Investinprosports.com. If you want to be a part of the conversation, call us up. What do you think about this Haley Monroe story? And also, what would make you feel like A&M is on the right track? Text us up or call us up, 979-693-1150. If you call it, we'll pick it up on the Buppy's Catering hotline. We go around the room. We say hi to the people. And behind the glass is Nick Savage.
Howdy, good morning, y'all.
Hey, buddy.
Well, I'm sure we'll get more of a breakdown from Ronnie or Jason, whoever's on the recruiting country tomorrow. But I don't know if y'all been paying attention recruiting for Aggie football.
Ones.
Yeah, kind of picking up. Yesterday they picked up Mike Brown out of Houston Legacy, 4-star wide receiver. And then I believe Saturday they picked up a commitment from Jonathan Hatton Jr., running back. A couple of Texas guys. I know there's been a lot of talk about this class being primarily out-of-state kids, but back-to-back Texas guys. And, I got trust with that coaching staff. And, they got the right guys. They know who they're looking for, and 2 good ones.
I like it.
I like it, too.
I was looking at that 24/7. Look, it's early. Crazy early. But 24/7 has the A&M class ranked 6th right now.
I'll take that. Is that with the newest additions?
Yes.
All right, cool. Because, they lost a couple guys. They added a couple guys. Good times.
A&M's got to get better at receiver.
Yep.
Get some receivers. I think they got, 3?
That sounds
2
right.
or 3. And I've heard of the Hatton guy.
Yeah. Ronnie's talked about him many times.
A really exciting running back. So I like that, too.
All right, let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Aggies gather at the Angry Elephant. Reed Neal. What's up, buddy?
Morning, guys.
How are you?
Not bad.
What's going on in your world?
My world or?
Your world.
The social media world and the news world.
In the virtual world, we have Wendy from College Station.
Wendy.
She says, Texas released the number of scholarships they're going to fund per sport. When should we expect an announcement like this? Any indication what we're going to do? At a minimum, we have to match them in the Big 3.
I didn't know that about Texas, so I'll effort that information for A&M.
How much does it say? How much they're going to fund? No. I'll tell you this. I'm 63. How much time do I got left? 20 years?
30.
If I'm lucky.
I'm going with 30.
Okay, I hope so.
I'm going 30.
I hope so. But I know this.
30 from today.
If I win the lottery, I'm going to spend that money on things that make me happy. And what's going to make me happy is A&M winning championship. So if I ever win the lottery, it's not an issue. No one's going to outspend A&M. But until then, I would be interested to see what A&M is paying per scholarship.
Yeah.
But is that going to be an average? Because we know that a football player is going to, his scholarship and NIL package is going to be worth more than, say, an equestrian performer. And you get, still, I think the horse deserves some credit.
Well, we're giving the credit to the horse right now. That's what we're doing. All right, we're going to hit a break. When we come back, we're going to do the performance of the week. Before I do that, can I give a little shout out?
Do it.
A&M Consolidated Soccer. You know, I got a couple of kids on that team. Yeah, they playoffs tonight against Galveston Ball. Good old Mike Evans old school.
Tornadoes.
Yeah. So shout out to Christian Cruz, Diego, Adrian Vargas, Tyler Zahn, Colton Schmeller, who's going to be playing here at A&M as a kicker. Schmeller, yeah. He's the feller. He's awesome. His brother Hagan. They got a great coach Southerners that are an amazing job. So shout out to them.
Tigers.
I'll be going to full shirt tonight to watch them play, which means I won't get back till like 11, which means I'm going to be cranky tomorrow. So they best win.
All right. Go Tigers.
And if they win, OB.
Yes.
If they're able to win.
Yeah.
Or when they win, I should say, right? Where should we take them to eat? On the Olin dime.
Yeah. If you win a championship, you should automatically, you know how you go to you win the Super Bowl?
Yeah,
or
you go to Disney.
Disney, or you get to go to the White House?
Yeah.
I think around here, you win something, 1775 barbecue.
I think if you lose, you should go to 1775 too. Because
you got to console
drown your sorrows, right?
Right. Comfort food.
Need
some comfort. And unfortunately, when I leave, I'm usually have a certain amount of discomfort because I've eaten so much of that delicious, scrumptious brisket and the jalapeno cheese sausage.
Que rico.
And I love the pork ribs. You know that.
Yeah.
I'll just go with pork ribs.
That was a little more graphic than I was expecting.
And then some of that queso mac and cheese. Yeah. That's what you deserve. You win a championship, you deserve 1775. You lose one, you deserve to go there.
1775,
not only can you lick your wounds, but you can lick those ribs. Because it tastes so good.
I'm just going to go to a break here. You can find them on Google. Bye, guys. And we're back on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It is the Go Hour presented by the warehouse at CC Creations.
I thought we already covered that.
We did, but I got to say it every segment.
Yeah, okay.
I got to make sure
I wasn't ready for you to pass it off.
I know, like you can do it from over there. It's like when have you ever like seen somebody out of like not in the normal area and you're like, I know that person, but if you saw them, let's say at HEB, you'd be like, oh, that's Mr. Charles.
Oh, Mr. Charles.
Mr. Charles, he can be anywhere, right?
Great, yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? Like you have to see them in certain environments to know who they are. You don't know what I'm talking about.
I don't know, but I know that there's like certain like songs or something like that I would not know unless, you know, if you gave me the words, I wouldn't know. But if you said the words in the rhythm, I know that.
Oh, I know that song. Yeah, I get that. Shall we do the performance of the week?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, I think one is the first one. I'm going to give you the first one. It's so simple.
You're probably going to have to give me all of them.
Okay.
You know, I was in basketball.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to let you do the first one, which is a basketball one.
All right, Pharrell Payne.
There you go. Got to give Pharrell his props.
Especially 25 and 10, and they went over Yale.
And then 26.
And then so he had back-to-back career highs, and he was shooting at a high percentage. Unfortunately, you know, in that last game, he seemed against Michigan, he seemed like the only guy shooting a high percentage.
Yep. By the way, we're going to get to the next one here in a moment, but as a reminder, the final segment of the program brought to you by Double Dave's. That's at 10:50. But right now, caller number 12, 979-693-1150. We're going to hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's. They've been around Aggie Land since 1984 with your favorite pizza and, of course, those world-famous pepperoni rolls. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on Double Dave's.
When was the last time you ate a pizza?
Hold on. It's not as long ago as you think.
And I bet it had chicken on it.
No. Hey, okay. We're gonna go down this path here in a second. Last time I had pizza, I would say about a month ago.
Okay. I gotta admit.
And I had like 9 pieces.
I love pizza.
Pizza's great.
I love pizza. I remember when I first moved here in '93, I discovered Double Days right away.
Yeah.
And I'd never had a pizza roll before.
Pizza rolls are great.
A pepperoni roll, whatever they call them.
Pizza rolls are great.
And I ended up eating there quite often.
So there's this rumor. It's a lie that I don't eat. That all I eat is broccoli and chicken. You saw me on multiple occasions out-eat the group.
No.
Okay.
Out-eat the group.
Brazilian steakhouse definitely dominated. Everybody, no, I'm okay. I'll have and I'll be like, yes, I'll have it.
You think you ate more than I did?
1,000%.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
I remember I had to talk you into eating the cheese with honey.
Well, yeah, that's just because I didn't think it looked that good.
1,000%.
But it was really good.
Remember, he said, "Can I pick up your plate?" It's like, no, I might eat more.
Yeah, you'll eat lean beef.
I ate a lot of beef.
Yeah. You didn't eat.
I did eat mashed potatoes.
Some potatoes.
I did. Yeah.
And some plantains.
And I ate those little cheese breads.
Well,
I might have had 13 of those.
Those were good.
Okay.
Yeah.
At the place you took us to go eat in what's the name of that little town?
Bastrop.
Bastrop. I loved it. It was awesome downtown. Okay. Out ate the group. Dominated the eating game.
All right.
Dominated.
A few years, David's going to be looking like me, all old and fat.
I actually lost 1.5 pounds last week. Anyway, Mac Barbara.
My sister once lost like 30 pounds in like one day.
I think there's a joke coming.
Had a leg amputated.
I thought that was coming.
It's a true story.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm not gonna laugh. I'm just gonna move on.
The amputee diet. All right, moving on.
Can we clip that and send it to her? Irma's listening right now. You're getting a phone call.
My sister.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's no longer with us.
Mac, okay, now I feel terrible for even laughing. Mac Barbara, 2 for 4, 2 RBIs in the last game. Her 9th multi-RBI game, 8th multi-hit game of the season, and she led the Aggies in the series with total 5 RBIs, 5 for 10, a home run, and 2 runs.
That's good.
Are you thinking of something funny to say?
No, Mac Barbara. I mean, that's really good. It just seems like
Return of the Mac.
Shouldn't it be Barbara Mac? You know, it seems like her names are transposed.
Later on, I hope we hear Crisscross, the Mac Daddy song. It's one of your favorites. It's on your playlist. Crisscross. Yeah. Daddy Mac will make you
Is that the redheaded guy that used to sing about sailing and stuff like that?
No.
No?
It's the Daddy Mac who will make you jump.
I'm a Mac Daddy.
And we have the women's tennis team beating LSU 6-1. They have won 65 straight matches on their home court.
That's awesome.
Got to get Coach Weaver in studio soon.
Coach Weaver is a magician.
And I heard Coach Denton with Chip Howard yesterday. Got to get him in studio soon. A&M beat Vandy 4-3 and Ole Miss 4-0.
That's excellent.
Yeah, so there you go.
You know what? I've never liked Vandy. I think it's from my time living in Nashville.
Vandy tennis or just Vandy?
No, Vandy. You know, I just root against Vandy, except for their football team this year with the
Hispanic.
Yeah. That kind of. That was.
Did you just say the Hispanic?
The Hispanic guy. I couldn't remember his name. Pavia.
Is he Hispanic or
Diego Pavia?
It could be Italian. Pavia.
No, I think he actually. He's from New Mexico. I think he actually talked about.
He goes to our meetings. Yeah. Bird Dog, Aggie owned and operated company, creating access to hunting opportunities. I want you to think about an Airbnb for hunting, right? So if you're into hunting, if you thought about hunting, if you want to go hunting, if you want it to be easy and chill and have all the logistics taken care of for you, reach out to Bird Dog. Also, if you're a landowner, you want to have some guys on your ranch to go hunting, reach out to Bird Dog. They'll set it up for you. Again, they're an Airbnb for hunting, and they don't have to just help you out with the hunting experience. They can help you out with tax benefits on your land. Some of their clients are making an extra $100 to $500 per acre of land because they optimize those tax benefits, find them for you, and you will reap the benefits. The website is birddogit.com. Once again, birddogit.com. Check it out.
What's up, TexAgs? This commercial break is brought to you by my good friends over at Aggieland Chevrolet, the official automotive sponsor of TexAgs.com and me, Billy Lucci. Greg Gunn is the proud owner of Aggieland Chevrolet and invites you to visit the dealership to experience true Aggie hospitality. From their friendly staff to the experienced service team, Aggieland Chevrolet is TexAgs approved. Check out the dealership off of Highway 6 in Bryan or go to AggielandChevrolet.com and tell them Billy Lucci sent you by.
TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. No, Mac Daddy going to make you jump. Maybe we'll get that later. It is the Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Hi, Olin.
Hey.
Good to see you. Let's go to the hotline right now, the Buppy's Catering Hotline. That's where we find Charean Williams of Pro Football Talk, the Aggie Hall of Famer, and our dear friend. Hello, Charean.
Hi, how are we doing today?
Kind of getting over some disappointment.
Yeah, that's a good way to phrase it. You?
Yeah, about the same. It's getting there day by day. Sun came up today, so yeah, it's just a little disappointment there with what happened with basketball and what's happening with baseball, and hopefully baseball can still get this thing turned around with Caden coming back hopefully this weekend and providing some leadership that maybe was lacking.
When we talked about the big three sports, and the disappointment that A&M didn't move on in basketball, and then the way football ended, and what's going on in baseball, and then I look ahead to the Cowboys and look back at the I have nothing sports wise to live for. How am I going to get over this, Charean?
I don't know, Olin.
And then you throw in Luka Doncic getting traded. Oh. I feel beat down.
It's been a rough year for you, hasn't it?
I feel beat down. Give me something about a reason to feel excited or optimistic about the Aggies in football, about the Aggies in baseball, about the Aggies.
Shamar Stewart might be a top 10 pick.
What does that do for me now? I mean,
he might go to your rival.
I guarantee you he will. The Eagles will probably draft him.
Yeah, there you go. Then you wouldn't be happy with that for sure.
No. What are you happy about these days, Charean?
I did take a little offense. I saw some of the posts, and to me, you're not a real sports fan, and you're not a real Aggie if you say, "Oh, our basketball lost," and I see all these posts. Well, the season's over. Let's just get ready for football. That's a disservice to what softball's doing right now, what track and field have done and are doing, tennis and golf. For God's sake, we got the defending national champions in women's tennis. Give me a break. We've got a lot of things, good things going on, and it's not just about the big three. Again, if you're not rooting for all these teams, you're not a real fan, and that's just my feelings on it. I love what softball's doing. I've enjoyed watching them. I think they're really one of those fun teams we've had. I covered softball back in the day when we won national championships. It's a great team to watch. Softball's a great sport to watch. I get, tennis and golf and track are not always easy sports to watch. I understand that, but we still root for them, and we still hope they do well, and they are doing well. And that's the thing. Most of our spring teams are doing great.
Thank you, Charean. You gave me a reason to live.
Yeah. Charean, how will you look back at this Aggie basketball run these last 3-4 years, the Wade Taylor era, Buzz Williams with this group of guys? How are you going to look back at them?
Well, it's fun. They were a lot of fun to watch, and I enjoyed it. And they gave me a lot of pleasure for, a lot of great wins that they had. I love going to games and getting to see them play, and I'm going to miss them. I'm going to miss all of them. So, I think you look back on it, yes, they didn't get done what we all wanted them to do, what they wanted to do, and I think that's what we sometimes forget. Our disappointment. Imagine how they feel, their disappointment. It's twice, 3 times, 4 times what ours is. They're disappointed they didn't accomplish what they came to A&M to accomplish. But boy, they did leave a legacy, and they left a lot of fun memories that I'm going to look back on and smile about. And it was fun to watch. And I'm disappointed they lost to Michigan. It happened, unfortunately. And, there's 5 teams, I think, now in the Sweet 16 that we beat. This is a really good basketball team. Didn't get a great draw, unfortunately. I think if we'd beaten Texas, we'd have had a higher seed, and that was probably what did us in the end. You get a better draw if you hadn't finished the way you finished. But, it still was a lot of fun to watch this group play, and I do think they're going to leave a legacy behind that other guys want to come to A&M because of what they did.
Well, I do think that as we spoke before, getting into the NCAA tournament 3 consecutive years and winning a game in back-to-back years is, that's not easy to do. And so they should be applauded for that. But Charean, shouldn't we, as a fan base, have great expectations for Texas A&M in all sports?
Absolutely. No question about it. Look what Tennessee's doing, coming off the national championship in baseball and had a great football season, and look what they're doing in basketball. So absolutely, we should aim for those goals of being there every single year and doing more. You look at the way the University of Houston was rebuilt. Now I realize the money they have from Fertitta is a lot of money. They're paying their players an awful lot of money, and they do that in basketball more than football. I'm sure. I don't know that for a fact, but just guessing because they're ultra successful in basketball. But yeah, I think you look at some of those programs. You see Texas Tech getting to the NCAA final. You see Baylor winning a national championship. That's what you want to do, and that's what you should do, and that's the expectations that you should have, and the coaches should have, and the AD should have, and everyone in the administration should have, and the players should have. So I hope that's what we're building toward, and I think that's probably the disappointment. It's just been a long time, and when you've been in this, since the 80s or some Ags even farther back than that, and had all the disappointments that we've had since then, this is just another one, and it hurts every single time. And I texted a couple friends after the game the other day, why can't we have nice things? And I think that's it. Why can't we have nice things? Why can't it be us? And it can be us. We just got to figure out how to do it.
Charean, Michael Parsons taking a page out of Myles Garrett's playbook, saying that $40 million annually would make him the happiest man on earth. How close to that $40 million do you think he can get?
Well, I think he's going to be over it. I think he's going to get something around 40 in new money, $40.1 million in new money over the length of the contract, however long that is. I think that's what it's going to be. Because you look at the record-setting contracts that Miles signed and Jamar Chase signed, and it's just gone up and up and up. And right now, it's at $40.25 million for a non-quarterback per season. So I think that he's going to get somewhere around $40.5 million. Now, this is a really pretty, I won't say simple, it's an easy contract to do because you're going above that. You have it. You have the Jamar Chase contract. You have the Myles Garrett contract. You have them in your hand. When both sides decide to get motivated to do it, it's not going to take very long to do it. For some reason, one side or the other is not motivated right now to get this deal done, so it hasn't been done. So when it's going to get done, we'll find out, but we're getting ready to start, voluntary off-season workouts, and I guarantee you Micah, he shouldn't be, is not going to be there when these things start, and he's not going to show up at all until he has a new contract. So the sooner they get this done, and they want him there for the voluntary stuff because they were upset that he hasn't come the last few years. So get it done if you want him at the voluntary stuff. Get it done if you want him at training camp. Get him done if you want him there before the start of the season, like you did with CeeDee Lamb last year. So this is on the Cowboys to get this done. Again, it can be done very quickly whenever they decide to do it.
Charean, I'm going to, with my authority, put you in charge of the Dallas Cowboys draft because that's only about a month away. So in the first round and then the second round, where are you going?
First round, I'm either going wide receiver or offensive line. I'm going best available. And if it's a pass rusher, I'm good with that too. But I'm looking kind of at those positions, especially at receiver. I think if they don't get a good number 2 receiver, I think they're going to be in a little bit of trouble. And then, I think you've got to come back in the second or third round and draft a running back. You've got to have a running back.
Scataboo.
And you've got to have a good running back. What'd you say?
Scataboo.
Yeah, that'd be fine. Second round, go get him. He'd be great in that offense. And again, they've upgraded at running back, but I still think if you're relying on Miles Sanders or Javonte Williams to start for you, that's not what you want. You want a young guy. You want a guy who could come in. Those guys are going to be good. If you get a rookie running back, not necessarily in the first round, the second or third round, this is a great running back class. 30 running backs have draftable grades. If you get one in the second or third round, maybe in the fourth round, I'll be okay with that. And combine them with those other two guys, I think you've got a great running backs room, and you've turned that thing over in a year, and you're going to be much better than you were last year when you were at the bottom in carries, rushing yards per attempt, total rushing yards, and 6 rushing touchdowns in 17 games. Six rushing touchdowns in 17 games. How do you do that? Tell me how you do that, because you don't have any running backs who can run the ball, even on the goal line. So you've got to improve in the rushing game. If you don't, you're back where you were last year.
Charean, great stuff. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
You too, Charean Williams. And people responding, yes, inject what she's saying in our veins.
She's making me feel guilty for.
Yeah, way to go, B.
Yeah.
I'm
not a true fan.
Well, you're an analyst. Moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell. Online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. Great deals when you go to Caldwell Country Chevrolet. When you're looking for a new vehicle, that's the place you begin your search. You go to the website, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. You'll see the selection that they have. Then when you make it on the lot, you're going to love it, because they're going to have all the vehicles that you're looking for, new and pre-owned, great pricing and great trade-in value. But the biggest thing afterwards is that great customer service that starts before the process, during the process, and afterwards. Complimentary pickup and delivery for their service customers. Free oil changes for life on the life of the purchase, as long as you own that vehicle from Caldwell Country Chevrolet. We're talking about a 15-minute drive, the edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. Short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell. Online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. It's your song right there, OB.
Oh, yeah, I go to sleep to this.
TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. I'm not going to make too much out of this story, but that first segment we talked about, the ponytail grab.
Yeah.
Here's something. I'm not going to get into the specifics, but UFC fighter Cain Velasquez sentenced to 5 years in prison for hunting down and firing at a man who allegedly did something very bad to his 4-year-old son.
Yeah, I think he should not be put in prison at all.
I think he accidentally missed the guy who was trying to get and hit the guy's father.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah.
But
I guess it just shows you what a parent can do with rage. Yep.
Well, there was a story back in the 80s about a guy in Baton Rouge. His son had been kidnapped and molested by his karate coach. And they found him in California, brought him back to Baton Rouge. They were taking him through the airport, and the father was at a phone bank back when they went by, he pulled out a gun and shot and killed the guy. And you know what he got for it?
A medal.
He got nothing. He did.
Yeah.
I think
it's like the movie A Time to Kill.
You mess with and hurt kids, and the way I look at it is, they can't do enough bad things to you if you hurt innocent children.
100%. I'm going to move on before I get in trouble. Let's chit chat a little bit about what we started the show with, though, completely about A&M sports feeling in the right direction. I don't think any of us are going to be 100% happy until potentially December, right? Like as we talked about. But I think there are things that we can see this offseason. Look, if baseball can start playing better ball, they're obviously not going to be the number one team in the country, right? That ship sailed a long time ago. But if they can play promising baseball, I think people will breathe a little bit better. Basketball, add to the portal. And football, I don't know what we're going to read into spring ball, but hopefully some just good reports come out to make us excited.
How one more game in football and baseball and basketball would have changed the whole outlook.
One game.
If you beat Auburn, hey, you won 9 games, okay. If you had beaten Texas in the tournament, you probably get a better seed, like Charean was saying, and so you had a better chance to win and move on. Just one more game was what
Or just close out your last games, right? Close out the USC game. Not that I would have made that difference. You know what? In the Texas football game, close out that fourth quarter, get that 4th and 1, and see what it would have felt like, in that situation.
Get some 4th and 1s. I think they'll get some 4th and 1s this year.
I do too.
God, I hope so.
OB, thank you.
All right.
When we come back on TexAgs Live, Josh Pate. Love Josh. We'll chat a little football. He just interviewed Kirby Smart. We'll talk to Justin Lanham after that, put a bow on basketball season with him, and a little bit later, Luke Evangelist and Matt Simon talking some softball. That and more. It's TexAgs Live. All right, we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. It is now time for our weekly conversation with Josh Pate. Thanks to our friends at Academy of Sports and Outdoors. They carry a wide selection of the best brands, including Easton, Rawlings, and Wilson. And at Academy, you can shop for the latest bats, gloves, cleats, clothing, protective gear, training equipment, and much, much more. We go to the Buppy's Catering Hotline. I believe he's in Lubbock, Texas. Maybe talking to Joey McGuire at some point. Josh Pate with us here on TexAgs. What's up, buddy?
Yeah, there's no evidence of that, David. How in the world would you know where I am? I haven't been to Lubbock in I think it's over 20 years. I had a church mission trip out here. And I don't know, it was a long time ago. But all I remember is the roads were really wide and the air was really dry. 2 for 2. It is as I remembered.
Yeah, that's a cool room. I love the shot, the way it looks. I want to ask you something, because we started the show with this topic. I feel like Aggie sports fans right now are a little on edge, and I can understand it. Football ended poorly. Basketball was a fun season, but didn't go as far as I think we had hoped and expected. Baseball has crash-landed from number 1 to out of the rankings, and they've been swept twice in SEC play. So I say all that to you, not to depress everybody, but what will make you feel, like, a casual fan, a real diehard fan, that A&M is back on track in the big 3 sports? Is it really just about what you do all season long? Are people going to not be happy until you get to the end of the football season and see, hey, I saw 9 or 10 wins?
Everything works downstream of football. And I don't even care how hardcore a basketball or baseball fan you are. I've never met anyone that is hardcore into A&M athletics and not football first and foremost. Those people may exist. I haven't met them. So everything works downstream of football. I also think the vibe of an athletic department, especially in a place like College Station or virtually anywhere in the SEC outside of Lexington and maybe Nashville, works downstream of what football is doing on the field. So you said, I say all that to say. Well, I'm going to say the same thing. I say all that to say, if you pop a 10-win season on me in football this year, the vibe starts to enhance, and then I keep saying downstream, but I mean it. I think everything else works downstream of that. I don't know how you quantify that. I just think that energy is real. Conversely, David, what would it mean for baseball to go to Omaha and basketball to go to the Sweet 16, but A&M football to go 6-6? None of it else really, nothing else I don't think matters in the grand scheme, at least. Not to discount those sports and the dudes and girls playing those sports, but it's football first and foremost.
Yeah, I think, except for last year, the team getting to the College World Series, starting Coach Elko's tenure, right? Like it gave us some, for my purposes, it gave me a lot to talk about till the middle of June. So I was very happy about it. But I do agree with you that football is the one that makes everything click. But for the program to be where they need, for us to feel like the athletic department is going in the right direction, all 3 of those have to finish well. Baseball finished well last year. They've started very poorly this year. Basketball, I think they had a nice season. That's all I can say. And football finished very poorly.
Now, I will say this. The more I listen to you, I'm football 365 days a year, and I briefly acknowledge that the other sports exist. So by no means do I tout myself as some collegiate athletics expert. But I do think from an observational standpoint, in the Southeastern Conference, it used to be a nice, cute, ornament on the tree if you were good at basketball. And I think because of the infusion of money and also the big programs taking basketball seriously now, I don't think it's optional anymore. I do think you have to be good because it used to be you looked around and people said, well, yeah, but it's basketball. That's not really where we put our resources. Well, now you swim in resources in the SEC, and so much so that it's bubbled over football to where Bama and Auburn are still alive, right? They're both still in the tournament, and you've got the SEC with a record number of teams in the tournament. So that's good. In the aggregate, that's good to put pressure on the places where maybe they're not getting the job done. The same thing's happened in baseball. Even I know enough to know if you look at the surge that you've seen athletically, not just football-wise, but athletically in the SEC, it has turned it from optional to mandatory, that you are good in that stuff. And it used to be, David, you could kind of cruise along, be a good guy, and your basketball program's average is grits. No longer. Good guys are going to get fired if they are running average programs now.
Josh, in this coaches series that you've done the last couple of years, are there any particular traits that stand out to you of the elites, right? The guys, when you talk to them, like, yeah, he's got it. And I'm not talking about the ones that are trying to get to the elites. I'm talking about the Kirbys of the world, the ones that have done it at the highest of levels. Jim Harbaugh, like right now, Ryan Day is considered in that conversation. Should have probably been considered it beforehand, but I recognize why he wasn't. Is there a trait that pops up to you?
Yeah. When you walk in the building, everybody sounds the same. Everybody carries themselves the same. They look different because they're people. But then when you start talking to them, it's the front desk receptionist, it's the janitor, it's the offensive coordinator, it's the head. Everybody sounds the same, David. So all that is, it's no different than if we were to work in the political world or the business world or the football world. You've got leadership, and I'm going to say this phrase again, and I promise I'm not going to say it after this. The vibe is working downstream of leadership in the good places. In the bad places, you go talk to the general manager and he's got his take, and then the head coach has got his take, and then the AD has his take or her take, and it's just like there's no alignment. And the worst part is sometimes those places don't know that. I'm kind of in a pretty unique position that we're in a different place multiple times a week. So we visit everywhere. We talk to everyone. It's like a punch in the face. It's like a sledgehammer to the chest when you're in the places that do it right, because you realize this feels robotic in a sense that everyone's just saying the same thing, but they're not acting. It's not performative because they don't even know that the dude you talked to 7 minutes ago in the lobby said what he said to you. It's just that there's vision and everyone's aligned with it. And the most important part, I think, before alignment is everyone's bought into it. And then the other thing that I think it's labeled as coach speak a lot, but it's not coach speak. It's one of the most important traits you can have is the ability to like define the goal, whatever it is you want to accomplish, but then no one talks about the goal. All they're talking about is the process that it takes to achieve it. So what's funny is anytime you say that, David, people go like this. They kind of, all right, here we go. Like they lean back and they tune out because they think that's a cliche. Like that's just coach speak. Well, everyone says that. That's fortune cookie stuff. All I'm telling you, since you asked me the question, is the best buildings that we're in, they all do that. So I think there's a little more to it than just cliche. Or David, maybe there's a reason why it's a cliche, because it's said so much by the most successful people.
Well, I think also it maybe it's a cliche, but it should be a way of life, because the reality is you are what you eat, right? And people say that and like, well, no. But really, your health is determined by that. Football is the same way. If you follow the process and the results will come. It's one thing to say it out loud, Josh. It's another thing to actually be about that life.
Yeah. I always equate it to the gym because you and I can relate to that. That's somewhere we go every day. Someone else may be in a boardroom every day. You may be a race car driver. I don't really care what it is you do, but I didn't get that. The reason I speak so forcefully on this is because I think it was a big differentiator in my life. I did not understand that concept. For so long, I was like, most people, and that is, you need to be goal-oriented. You need to be focused on goals because that just sounds right. Well, it's not right. It's wrong. And Nick Saban was the one that actually, listening to him talk one day, for some reason made it click to me. I'd heard it a million times, but the first time someone ever made it click to me to just totally change your way of thinking was listening to him talk. I think it's probably because he had a track record, and so he had authority, and I valued what he had to say. But then you start viewing the world a little bit differently, and then you start realizing, man, focusing on that process, it may seem boring and mundane, but then if you fall in love with it, you realize not only have you unlocked some keys to success, but here's the fun part. You look around and you realize, wow, no one else thinks like this. In your social circle, like very few of my friends are thinking like this. And then comes the bad part, because then you start shaving out some of your friends because you want to surround yourself with like-minded people, and that gets a little bit lonely. But then you talk to successful people and they all tell you the same thing. It was a very lonely road to get here. And then you start weighing the risk reward and the sacrifice of whether you want to do that or not. So I don't know if you tried to schedule Tony Robbins today or you just wanted to talk football, but we could go for a long time on that.
Being uncommon around uncommon people. Josh, I can talk about this stuff all day. Hey, I want to talk the flip side to that, right? Programs that are in chaos. I feel like there are some similar themes to them as well. And sometimes you can almost look at it like, I don't know. They have a lot of talent, and maybe the 5 and 7 year of Jimbo's run here. yeah, they got a lot of talent, but there's something about when I walk into that facility that I don't feel like the guys are all on the same page. This guy's yelling at his coach. This guy's walking out of practice. I feel like the flip side of that is exactly true. You can almost predict when something could go wrong.
So the best way metaphorically that I can explain that, and Jimbo and A&M is a good example of this, is if you've ever worked construction before, which I have, you show up to a job site in the morning and you see the equipment's been loaded in. So you got your pallets of brick and lumber, and you've got your AC and ductwork that's going to go, all of the basically all of the equipment and all of the resources necessary to build a house are there. So it would be very ignorant for you and I to pull up to a job site, look at it, and say, there's the house. All we have is the materials to build the house. We have not built the house. It takes skill, it takes knowledge, it takes hard work to build the house. But it's capable of being built. There's a big difference between capability and possibility. Like the capability is, well, you've got God-given ability. Therefore, you're capable of doing some things. It's impossible unless you commit to and put in the work to accomplish that. Just like it's impossible for that house to be constructed unless someone who knows what they're doing takes those materials and does the right thing with them. It is my opinion that for quite a while, Texas A&M was the job site with all the tools and all the resources and all the materials laying there. That's why I've always caught some flack from the national audience when I've said everything they need to win is there. It is there. It's been there for a long time. Maybe the right foreman hasn't been there. Maybe the right crew hasn't been there. But that's why I've never given up on the idea or the capability of Texas A&M. The possibility may not be in the room at any given present moment, and I would convey that that's how I felt when Jimbo was there. But that doesn't change capability. So I still feel the same way with Mike Elko there. The capability is there. So now we find out together last year, this year, next year, what kind of crew do we have on the job site?
And I think also you can do everything right, and it still may not work, especially in the SEC, because other guys are getting paid, too, to do it all right. So you may have the right plan. You may even have the right guys, but timing and also what's happening at other places, which is, I think, the hard part, because you could do everything right, yet still not get the results.
I think you can see it, though, because what you're saying is dead on the money. You could do everything right and go 10-2, 9-3, and especially on the 9-3 side of things, someone may look at that and say, well, you underachieved a little bit this year if you were supposed to be in the national title picture. Well, you may have just had a couple of key injuries at a spot you couldn't afford to, and the portal rated your depth there in the spring window, and then you had a couple of bounces of ball go against you, and it's stuff that matters, and it determines games. But I think you and I can tell when we're watching a program, and you can tell a 9-3 team that was a really, really tough out versus a hollow 9-3 team that loaded up on inferior competition and got blown out 3 times. What you've got to do, if we speak of now, this is the best metaphor I'll use all day. If you think about college football in terms of a ladder match, and you think about the belt hanging high above the ring, what you're trying to do really is you're just trying to get enough rungs up to where it's within reach. And then you take a shot at it every year. But you can't reach it if you're on rung 3. So if you're a head coach and your guys are on rung 8 of a 10-rung ladder every year, they're at least within reach. You can give yourself a puncher's chance. You're in the room with the piñata. You may be blindfolded, but you swing away, you do have the opportunity. You just got to give your guys an opportunity. Give your team an opportunity to achieve whatever it is you want every year. And of course, Georgia was that last year. Like I think about, we were at Georgia the other day. Kirby took some heat because he came on the show. He said, I think we did our best coaching job last year since I've been here. And people looked and said, what? You were in the 100s in rushing numbers. You were out of the top 20 in total defense. But that was his point. His point was our team wasn't that good last year. It was one of the worst versions of us as Georgia that we've had in a long time, and it felt like we were trying to plug 13 holes with 10 fingers in the dam the whole year. Somehow the dust settles and we won the SEC. That team's got no business winning the SEC last year, but they did because they put themselves at least within arm's reach, and even in a down year, they won it. I think that, to me, is the hallmark of being able to tell whether a guy's got the program where it needs to be.
Talk to me about SEC scheduling and your issues with it, the way they go about their business, because basically, and I know you summed it up in one of your videos, it's just a flip of the next year, right? So, like, what plan would you like to see?
Ironic that we just mentioned Kirby Smart. I bounced this off of him. I'm asking every head coach that we talk to right now about this. I'm asking them, what would it hurt in your mind, in your preparation, in your operation? What would it hurt if I was the commissioner, I came in and I wiped all the schedules clean, and I said, you're going to find out your schedule in late February every year? He said, travel. That's all it would mess up. I mean, we got to get that stuff booked. But from a coaching standpoint, I don't care. Release the schedule in February. I couldn't care less. We're working on us in spring. We're not even really working on opponent-specific stuff granularly until the fall. So now that I've got the endorsement of head coaches saying that, I'm thinking to myself, David, why would we ever be releasing schedules multiple years out? Now, the way that out-of-conference scheduling works, I get that. I'd love to see that overhauled, but I get that. Okay, so take those 4 games or 3 games, notwithstanding, whichever conference you're in. The conference schedule, the thing you have control over, if you're a league, I can't believe that we still schedule that multiple years out. The problem with a 16 or an 18-team league is you certainly aren't going to play everyone. But that means Nuño University and Pate State, if we're in the same conference, we may play 2 totally different strength of schedules. There may be a gulf, like a Grand Canyon, between how tough it is for you and how tough it is for me. And like Kirby said the other day, we get to the end of the road, we've got this vast disparity in strength of schedule, yet a committee doesn't determine who goes to Atlanta. It's just conference standings. So from a conference perspective, we just think a win is a win, a loss is a loss. All records are created equal. So what I'd love to see happen, since you asked me that like 10 minutes ago, what I'd love to see happen is take your committee, your conference, whatever it is, find a way to roughly determine your strength of conference in February. It's not going to be perfect. I understand that. But from a broad strokes perspective, I think you and I both know Texas will be better than Kentucky this year. So there's a way to roughly bracket or line up those teams. And I'd love to see the league schedule made in February. And no one knows who they're going to play. And it's totally randomized. And you don't just flip your road and home and road year to year. And I also don't know if maybe that's not in the coming years. Like, everything's changing now anyway, but I would love to see. Second thing it does, David, is it creates a tentpole event in late February. Yeah. The SEC schedule release could be a thing. There's no reason it's not a thing. The current strength of schedule dichotomy makes no sense. So that's the way I'd love to see it go.
I also think when talking about teams schedule, and this is not really the same topic, but kind of morph into it, when you have your hard games, I think matter a lot to the quality of team you could become. Because I thought Texas had a pretty simple schedule for SEC standards last year, but they did close out, obviously, playoffs, A&M at the end with some harder games than they had initially. If you have those hard games early, what it does to the mindset if you aren't successful, and conversely, if you have easier games to ramp up. A&M got Notre Dame week 1. Does A&M beat Notre Dame week 2 or 3? I don't know. Maybe they do. They had no offense at that point, at least in that first game. So I'm just curious your thoughts about how, depending on where your team is from a maturity standpoint, from a coach's tenure, how that schedule can affect how the team plays in that actual year.
It's a really big deal. I'll give you an example outside the SEC of something I'm looking at right now. So Oregon is in the 100s in returning production. They are below 50% returning production both sides of the ball. So they're brand new everywhere. But they're going to be viewed as a national title contender, as they should. They go on the road in week 5 to Penn State. Penn State will be coming off a bye. That's Oregon's 5th game in a row. So I want you to think about home field advantage. You're flying, if you're Oregon, across 3 time zones. Also, I believe Fox will have that game. You can check me on this. But if they do, you know good and well they're throwing that thing at noon. So that's a 9 a.m. body clock kickoff for Oregon with huge rest disadvantage. And then you got all the new starters and whatnot. So that is just one glaring example of, I don't know if it's like scheduling malpractice, but if I were the conference, like if I were the league office in the Big Ten, I know I got 3 or 4 programs capable of winning it all. I'm never exposing one of my horses to that kind of disadvantage. Is that favoritism? Absolutely it is. I'm just telling you how I would run the Big Ten. Now, in the SEC, it's a little different because any given year, the pool of legitimate teams is a little deeper. then the Big Ten, there may not be an elite one, but there's a pool that's 7 or 8 deep of big brand, big-mouthed teams that aren't going to take that kind of treatment being on the other end of it. In the Big Ten, you got 4 of them, then you got everyone else.
And I believe we're in agreement here. I would love to see the national championship game early, like January 1st, 2nd, 3rd, right? And I believe that's where you have it as well.
I'd love for it to be on New Year's Day. If it can't be on New Year's Day, I'd love for it to be on pay attention here, kids, the first Saturday in January. Now, all that takes, this is going to sound simple. It's actually much more difficult in practice. That takes cooperation and alignment with the NFL. That's all that takes. And you got to get smart people in the room that have negotiated that sort of thing before, that have relationships on that side of the fence, that can incentivize that sort of coming to the table at the behest of the NFL. That's what that takes. We don't have it right now. I hope we get it one day.
Josh, great stuff, man. Thanks very much. Enjoy your time in Lubbock.
Appreciate it, David.
See you, man. Josh Pate on the Bumpy's Catering Hotline. We'll hit a break. We'll do an open segment. And then after that, we'll talk to Justin Lanham, try to wrap up the Aggie basketball season, maybe even look ahead at some of these games in the Sweet 16. Right now, if your car was hit by the recent hailstorm, don't trust an out-of-town pop-up tent with your car. Just trust a locally owned and operated business like Classic Collision and Restoration, who specializes in paintless dent repair for hail damage. Those out-of-town pop-up tents will be gone soon, so who's going to stand behind the work? If your parts start to chip or trim starts to fall off, let Classic Collision and Restoration handle your insurance claim for your hail damage repair. Keep your business local. They've been around for the last 25 years. Countless customers have trusted them to bring their car back to showroom form. For top quality auto body repair, Classic Collision and Restoration is here to help. No one in the Brazos Valley offers the same quality of service and detail that Classic Collision provides. And you know how the saying goes, you get what you pay for. So don't just get your car fixed, get it restored with Classic Collision and Restoration. Aggie owned and operated by Doug Leopold, class of 1993. Call him up at 979-779-8399 or online at classiccollisionandrestoration.com. We're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, hour number 2 of the program. I want to give a shout out to Carson Stein. Remember good old Carson, Brian Broadcasting's finest? It's his birthday today, so happy birthday to Carson Stein, who used to do our social center. The only problem with telling Carson Stein that it's his birthday is that he asked for me to say it's his birthday. So I'm just kidding, Carson. You're my boy. You know that. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Reed Neal.
Yes. So
that is your name.
That is my name.
What's up, buddy?
So we've got some golf news. Starting yesterday, both men's and women's golf is actually in 7th place at both of their golf rounds. And specifically, y'all already talked about the player of the weeks, but I wanted to throw out men's golf freshman Wheaton Ennis. He leads the Aggies right now at 10th place. He's 5 under 137. He shot 2 eagles in a 3-hole stretch. The first of which was the last hole of his first round, I believe, which was a par 5, 529-yard hole. And his second was the second hole of his second round, which was a par 5, 539-yard hole. And then he also has 7 birdies over the 2 rounds, shooting 69 and 68, which I'm pretty happy if I can break 100, let alone 69 or 68.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've broken 100 in 48 years because I've probably played golf 4 times in my life, but that's all right. And I would probably suck at it. Anything else?
So earlier we had a text message talking about how Texas released their new scholarships, and then she was actually nice enough.
I think they did that a while ago, actually, Wendy. I think Kay was telling me they released that about a month ago.
Okay. Well, so they added 200 scholarships to the school. It was originally 266. Now it's 466. The big 3: baseball, basketball, and football. Football stayed the same with 85. Basketball went up by 2 from 13 to 15.
Yep.
But baseball actually more than doubled. They went from 11.7 to 25, which is pretty big. So
interesting. I'm curious what's going to happen with A&M. We're tracking that, and we hopefully will have some answers there. Give me a text message or 2.
So from Dripping Springs.
Dripping Springs in the house.
I believe this was in reference to Josh Pate. He said, "It's also just not the crew. It's culture that starts from top-down leadership. Our leadership has been split. Regents texting their own things. Ridiculous contracts, split ideas on how to win, and communication. Winning programs are built on the continuity of goals and culture, and across all leadership before it trickles down to foremen and workers."
I don't disagree. I will say this. I think the right leader can lead inside of his space, right? Like, yes, there's the extracurricular noise that I believe permeates down. But at the end of the day, like, I am in charge of this show, and things around, I'm not saying there's chaos around the office. I'm just making an example of being a leader. There could be chaos around it, and whatever you are in charge of, you've got to have that dialed in, right? So regardless of the noise, that's why you hear a lot of coaches saying, stay off social media, don't talk to this guy, don't do this, just stay away from that world. Because if you insulate yourself and do follow the process, I think you can overcome those kind of obstacles.
Mm-hmm.
I know there was another one about somebody, I think, was referencing, I think the term was finish. Read that one. I think I know what that one's about.
Well, he just says the term is finish.
The finish. And I think it was because what would make us feel better that our athletic programs are moving in the right direction. And as Charean pointed out, got a national championship in women's tennis. Women's golf was great. Volleyball had an awesome run. Softball's in the middle of an awesome run. Track and field. I mean, the men just won the indoor championship. So there's a lot of other sports that are doing great, right? Those 3 sports in particular. Obviously, you can't say baseball finished the ultimate goal, but they had an awesome finish to their season, right? The ultimate goal is winning a national championship. They didn't do it, and we know what has happened since then. But the term finished is exactly right. And that does not necessarily mean, yes, winning a national championship would make you feel great. But like, I think folks in Florida about that football team. The way they finished the season made up for the way they started the season, where they lost 2 out of the 3 first games to Miami and to Texas A&M. The way they finished, the way DJ Lagway finished the season gives them optimism. And it is about what you do at the end of the year. And I'm not necessarily talking about the bowl game. I'm talking about what you do during the meat of your schedule when you get to November. Because this program, football, has seen droughts in November before. It is about how you finish. Basketball, I think folks enjoyed the season if you're a basketball guy. They didn't reach, honestly, it was horrible that they had such a great lead in that game. And in basketball, 10-point lead is not like, a blowout, right? A 10-point lead. But to get outscored the way they did and not finish that game, I think is what a lot of people are still angry about. So yes, I think finish is the right term for all the sports. We'll hit a break. When we come back, we'll talk to Justin Lanham, get his thoughts on basketball. Right now, though, your car wash tradition with the friendliest staff and the personal touches, Aggie Land Express Car Wash. They're Aggie Land's first green car wash where they recycle 100% of their water. They are fantastic when it comes to getting exactly what you want at Aggie Land. Unlimited monthly membership starting at as low as $19.95. They're the newest full-service wash in town at the Texas Avenue location. They are fantastic, and they will take amazing care of you. If you want to keep your car looking good, get the unlimited monthly membership at $19.95. Wash your ride as many times as you want. And we're going to give one away right now, the Texas Avenue location, 979-693-1150. The first caller will get themselves a free car wash from Aggie Land Express Car Wash. You've got 2 locations, South College Station and the newest one on Texas Avenue. And we're back, TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. It is hour number 2. Let's go to the Bumpy's Catering Hotline. I am confused because I don't recognize this view. Usually I feel like Justin Lanham is at the Texas A&M hotel, one of the suites in there, because I see everything perfectly laid out. It might be the same room, but the view looks a little bit different. Where are you, Mr. Lanham?
I'm at the office today. This is, I feel like, I had to show off the A&M wooden sign behind me. So, yeah, a little different setup today.
Honestly, I didn't recognize it said A&M until right now, until you pointed it out to me. That's pretty good. Hey, so Saturday, we're at a point where, we're trying to move on from how bad of a loss was that game, considering the 10-point lead, the way it spiraled out of control, but also how predictable was that loss based on some of the scoring drops we've seen this year?
Yeah, it's I don't know if I would say predictable. Well, I mean, I guess I would. I guess that's the best way to term it, is predictable, in the sense of you've seen it happen. I mean, you saw it happen in the very first game of the season. You saw it happen in some other games throughout the year. And so, it is predictable in that case. It's frustrating, I'll say that much, because there's aspects of the game where you feel really good about it. And then you just go on these scoring droughts. And I think also what's frustrating is before that, you had no problem scoring, right? That's how you got to that 10-point lead or whatever it was at that point. Wade's getting to the bucket. They're getting some steals. They're getting in transition. They're getting some easy buckets. Payne scoring at the rim. Anderson Garcia scoring at the rim. And so, yeah, that's definitely frustrating when you go on a drought like that, because you saw that you were having success, and then all of a sudden it just comes to a screeching halt. You feel like you can't really get many stops on the other end. They're able to kind of do what they want to do and pull away. And so that's definitely frustrating.
Yeah. I don't want to say Wade Taylor had a bad year, because he didn't. He was really good. But it didn't seem like the Wade we saw the last couple years at times, right? At times he had his moments, but offensively, it seemed like it was a little bit harder to get him going. Was that, I mean, I don't want to predict, or maybe he was injured. Maybe it just, the offense was different. I know Buzz talked a little bit about the offensive. His offensive load was different because of some of the pieces around him. What do you think it was? Because in that game, I felt like he struggled. Then he got hot. Then they took him out of the game, and then he struggled to get hot again.
Yeah, I would have thought that this year would have been better for him in the sense of having a true big guy inside with Payne kind of, taking a little bit of pressure off him. I also thought Phelps coming in would have taken some pressure off of him. But I think honestly, the key, and I'm not just trying to put it on one player, but I think Phelps not having a great year, I think that kind of hurt Wade, in the sense of if you have Payne and Phelps really taking some of that pressure off Wade, now the defenses have to key in on some of those guys a little bit more, and they're not so keyed in on Wade. And so I thought Wade had opportunities, though, this year, David. Honestly, I felt like he had opportunities to hit shots. I thought he had opportunities to make some plays, and at times that just didn't really happen. Don't get me wrong, he had some good games, but I think what you expect for a guy in his last year at A&M, with his number in the rafters, I think you expect a little bit more.
Well, I'm going to say Zurich. I don't think Zurich had a bad year. I think his shooting percentage was low, as most of the team, right? I think he had a rough end of the season, and I also feel like very rarely did we get a Zurich and a Wade game. I'm looking at the last few games here: 6 against Michigan, 5 against Yale. In those games, he was a combined 4 of 15. 8 against Texas, 6 against LSU. Before that, he was really on a nice streak where he was scoring double digit in 8 straight games, and then 9 out of 11 games. So I feel like his shooting was a little bit off this year, but it was really towards the end of the season where we really felt that he struggled.
Yeah, and I guess that's the key. Probably not a bad year, but as far as efficiency, I think I would have rather him been a little bit more efficient, I guess is what I'm trying to say. There were just some untimely turnovers with him at times as well that I just didn't love. And you know how that is. Sometimes a guy can only have 2 turnovers, but those turnovers come in huge moments. And so they're almost kind of elevated to this next level where you feel like even though he only had 2 turnovers, it feels like he had 5 turnovers. And so I just felt like it almost wasn't like a Batman Robin like it was with Boots at times. Like you said, it didn't really feel like you had both of them doing big things at the same time. Maybe it was one or the other.
Talking to Justin Lanham here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. All right, what are you going to miss most about this team? Maybe not even just the 25 season. I'm just talking about the core nucleus that we see that are moving on.
Yeah, I think this is going to be kind of funny. I feel like I'm going to miss the fact that because there was some inconsistency with this team offensively, sometimes you got some big scoring nights. Sometimes you didn't have, a great scoring night. But I think what comes with that is you almost felt like at the beginning of any game, you were going to be in the game. Like you almost felt like, hey, I don't care if we're playing Auburn, the number 1 team in the country. I don't care who it is that shows up. Like, I think A&M can beat this team because that comes from some of that inconsistent. You just didn't know what you were going to get. So maybe you're playing the number 1 team and you get a really hot night from A&M, and then they're really good defensively and they're really good on the offensive boards. And so, you beat a number 1 team. So I think that's what I'm going to miss is like right before that ball goes up, like you're never thinking, oh man, we're about to get destroyed. It always felt like, oh, A&M has a chance. And that's just a testament to how hard these guys played. And I think Buzz is going to get that out of another team. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I think he's always going to have the core DNA of guys that just want to play hard. But I think this team, I'm definitely going to miss that with them of just how hard they played. You felt like they were going to be in any game. Anytime that ball went up, you knew that they were going to be in a game.
Yeah, and I'm also going to miss this era because they were such an uncommon type of team put together in today's world of college sports, especially at a Power 4 conference at the SEC, to have guys stay here for as long as they did. Sure, some of those guys transferred in from somewhere else, but they had, like, Anderson Garcia was here for 3 seasons, right? Henry, 4 seasons. Like, you got guys that transferred in, and some of the guys from before, too. So, like, I think I'm going to miss a team staying together and, like, knowing the roster from year to year.
Yeah, they were able to build on it, and I think, honestly, David, that's why it is a little disappointing not to get to the Sweet 16 is because you felt like you were building. Like when you have that much consistency on your roster and within your team, within your organization too. I mean, I think, Wade talked about it in a press conference about how he's pretty much had the same entire staff the whole entire time he's been there as well. So when you have that much consistency, there's really no excuse. Like you feel like you've got to be building. And so I think to not get to that Sweet 16, I think that's kind of why there is a little bit more of a disappointment.
Justin, what challenges will this program have, this team? What challenges does Buzz Williams have to recreate the magic, if you want to call it that, with this special group and trying to replicate that and go beyond where this group went?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously a ton of voids in the roster now, right? And so hopefully you can keep Solomon Washington, you can keep Payne, and then you can build around those guys, and that's your hope, right? And look, I would feel better about building around a big guy like Payne rather than just building around one guard or something like that. I think having a big centerpiece like Payne, if you can build around him, is definitely a good start, good foundation. But I'll say this to your question too, David, like, I think Buzz is going to have like a mental hurdle to get over in the sense of he poured so much into this team. Like he had these guys for so long, like that's tough to lose all those guys that you've counted on for the last couple of years and then almost feel like you're having to restart. Like I know that's this generation, that's what we're in, right? With the transfer portal and stuff like that. But I do feel like when you've given this team and these guys this much, like I feel like that's a big mental hurdle to get over.
You know what? I'm going to give you an opposite perspective on that. I think he might be excited by this because I look at Buzz as such a process-driven guy that like this is the next step in, and he's done it at other stops, right? So while he's still young enough, we're not talking about a coach in his late 60s, 70s that's doing it, right? He is what? Mid-50s, if that, right? And he seems like a leader of men, And he might be excited about what this phase, because he took this group as far as it could go. All right, here's the next group. Let's start from the beginning and take it through. So at least that's how I hope he's looking at it.
Yeah, and I think that hopefully there's also kind of like a fresh start. Like when you have guys there for so long, you almost feel like you've got to play to their strength. So you kind of build around in a certain way. Well, this is almost like a fresh new start in a sense. And so maybe it's, hey, offensively, we knew we had some struggles. So, hey, let's get some transfer guys. Let's get some guys in this signing class that, hey, we feel like can really help us in a different way. You know, let's get some guys that can actually stretch the floor and shoot a little bit better. Like maybe.
Did we lose Justin Lanham?
Oh. And a fresh new start for himself.
Oh, there you are. We thought we lost you for a second. Hey, Justin, before I let you go, man, awesome job on the show this year. 2 years in a row you doing the show. Somebody asked me, like, your background. So if you could remind folks, not only did you go to A&M, not only have you coached at the high school level, you also were involved with the A&M men's basketball program.
Yeah. So I coached. I did my tour all over Texas. I like to say, coaching all over the state of Texas in high school, and then obviously worked with the men's basketball team at A&M as a student manager. And that's the most fun I've ever had. It's definitely rewarding. Those guys, obviously we saw McNeese State. They highlighted their manager.
Six-figure deals, or wait, was it $1 million deals that guy got?
Yeah, 6-figure deal, I think I saw. Yeah, I didn't have that, David. So I wish I could go back and get some of that money. But no, that's managers are definitely, that's a tough job. But if you ever have the opportunity to hire a manager coming out of college, somebody like that, you know you're going to get somebody that's going to work hard.
Lanham, great job, buddy. Thanks so much for your time. I'm sure we'll talk during the off season.
Absolutely. Thank you, David.
Thanks, Justin. All right, great stuff with Justin Lanham here. Nick, have you seen that video I'm talking about? The McNeese?
Yeah, Amir Khan, whatever his name is.
Isn't Amir Khan a boxer? Is that his name? Is it that?
Yeah, I don't know. But yes, believe me, I don't think you could have missed it on Saturday. It was all over Twitter.
Who's giving him that much money? I mean, I thought it was awesome, but like, I'll do a video with a beatbox. And
yeah, I was about to say, I'll dress up like that and carry around a beatbox.
Dress up like what?
In the jumpsuit and stuff. You know that's not my style, David.
I just like making it awkward.
Trying to trap me. You can trap Reed. You can't trap me.
Oh, I've already trapped him. He doesn't even know. I'm just kidding. Let's keep water local, shall we? Can you keep water local, please? Yeah, keep it local, please. By going to keepwaterlocal.org. Click Get Involved today and ensure that our water stays where it belongs, because here in this area and several other areas, we're facing rising temperatures, and also out-of-state interests and neighboring communities are working to take our most precious resource away from us, which is water. That's why I'm asking you to consider supporting Keep Water Local, a coalition of your neighbors, local business leaders, and community voices united with one purpose: protecting our water and our future. And water isn't just about what comes through our taps. It's about preserving that Aggie spirit, sustaining our farms, and that have operated for generation after generation. So what you need to do is visit keepwaterlocal.org today. Click Get Involved, and you can help make sure that water stays local here in the Brazos Valley. Keepwaterlocal.org. I was right. Amir Khan was a professional boxer. I think he fought Canelo. And I think he fought, I said it with an accent, and I think he fought Maggiano or Malinagi, whatever his name is. And also, he's the former trainer for McNeese.
Yep.
So, good times. All right, I really love when people agree with me. It feels good. Nick, you agree?
Yes.
Thanks. You guys are really helping out the show today. In hour number 3, this is what we're going to talk about. We're talking a little bit more basketball. But I'm going to make sure that we're all happy again because we're going to talk Aggie softball. Matt Simon, who does play-by-play for Aggie softball, is going to join the show. We'll chit-chat with him at 10:35. I know we'll have Trisha Ford on the program tomorrow, so we're going to be ramping up our softball coverage here on the program. And Luke, for the final time ever on the show today, we'll never let him back on the show. We'll talk. We'll wrap up basketball season with Luke, and hopefully he'll give us some optimism. He's been doing some research on the portal. What could A&M look like? He's going to give us some of those answers. And honestly, if I could be a consultant for Buzz, and I'm sure he listens to the show all the time, so he probably knows exactly what I'm thinking. A couple of shooters and a couple of Anderson Garcias. If we do that, I think we'll be in pretty good shape. All right, if you want to be part of the conversation, text us up 979-693-1150. You are listening to TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Do we like the name Pounding the Rock for the segment?
Well, I guess now you've got a whole year, or I guess
we've
6
been doing it
months
for 3
to change
seasons.
it. Yeah, if you wanted to change it.
Nick, remind me, Pounding the Rock started off with
Tap and Hop.
No, before that, I believe it was Tap and
Logan?
Maybe Logan, because I think I had Logan on twice a week when he was a full-time
That's right.
employee.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And then it morphed into Hop and Tap. Then it morphed into Tap and Luke. Then Luke fired Tap.
If I have a vote, I would say we move on from the name.
Okay. I think there was a reason we had a name. I think we had a sponsor that it something to do with rock.
Pounding the Rock with Luke Evangelist, brought to you by Barbasol.
But I can't hear. What did he say?
So, hey, let's act like you've been here before. You always have headphones on in the studio.
Okay. Well, I can kind of hear Nick, so like.
Anyway.
He said brought to you by something.
Barbasol, like shaving cream.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did shave my beard.
We are TexAgs Live. I apologize for wasting a minute 45 of your life. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio. I'm David Nuño. He's Luke Evangelist. Luke, you've gotten a lot of flowers recently. There was a thread about you. Mm-hmm. Billy said something about you, so no more flowers for you. We're just going to look ahead, okay?
Yeah.
Because you're only as good as your last piece of content. Which was your last piece of content?
This transfer portal thread.
Okay, well, this is a good one.
Yeah.
Because you pointed out in an email to me, over 500 players hit the portal on day one. 2 years ago, 170, and last year, 300. So it's just getting bigger.
Yeah, and that's just the state of college athletics. And look, the powers that be in football and baseball have said the same thing. The portal being open while the season is still going on is just crazy. And I couldn't imagine having to be a coach trying to rebuild their roster. Like, think about what Arkansas is going to have to do, and they can't even focus on the portal because they're playing right now. So if there was ever a silver lining of A&M being eliminated early, which there's not, at the very least they can pour their entire attention into the transfer portal that opened on Monday, because it's crazy. There's more names to have to go through. There's more players that you recruited in high school and just missed out on, like you finished second and now you got to re-recruit them. And it's just a wild time to be in college athletics and college basketball specifically. There's only, let's say 60 to 70 power conference teams, and there's kids from mid-majors who want to go up a level. There's kids from power conference teams who want to go down a level and play at a mid-major, and it's just there's too many kids and not enough roster spots at the Division I level.
Well, one of my favorite things about working at TexAgs is covering the NCAA tournament, because it's the only real chance that I get outside of the NIL interviews to talk to these kids one-on-one.
Yeah.
And everybody that I talk to, everyone, they sound the same. And I don't mean that because Buzz has them speaking Buzz speak, right? I'm saying, like, you talk to CJ Wilcher, the way his heart comes out, the way he speaks is the same way as a Jace Carter, the same way as a Henry Coleman. They all have like a certain, it's a long about way of getting to my question. I feel like when the portal opens in other sports, other programs, for other coaches, oh, this guy would be a great fit. He's a great three-point shooter. Oh, this guy's a great wide receiver. I'd love to see him at A&M. Look at what he did at this place. He'll imagine translating. I don't know if it works the same way for a Buzz Williams type team.
Yeah.
And I mean this with respect, not a negative thing. It's actually, it takes a particular person to play on a Buzz Williams team.
Yeah.
It takes a particular kind of family-like environment that you want to welcome into your life. Because, like, I'm doing a lot of talking here, sorry. But I remember talking, I think it was CJ, maybe it was Pharrell who said this. When he got here, this was already a family, a culture. And they brought these guys in like a family because Buzz only gets, and his staff, only gets certain type of people that fit into that culture, which I think goes to this list of 500, makes it, I think, a little bit more difficult because it's not just about can you hit a jump shot.
Yeah, exactly. And that's ultimately, I think, what you want in a program, that they have an identity. And it's nerve-wracking to know that here's 8 seniors who just, 5 or 6 of them who just spent over 3 years building that culture. They are now leaving the program, but they've left it in a better place than they found it. But now it's up to those guys of Pharrell Payne and Solomon Washington, and even the freshmen of Chris McDermott and Andre Mills, to continue that culture, because you are now welcoming in The transfer portal additions are going to make up the majority of the contributors on the roster next year, whereas in the last couple of years, the transfer portal additions were the minority, and they were able to come into that culture and be molded into that culture, whereas now you have to be exceptionally careful of who you're letting into the program because they are going to decide the direction of the program. Next year, you're going to know less players than you've ever known on A&M basketball's roster, and that's why if there was ever a year to build a roster from the portal, it's this one because there are more options, but that means you have to be more selective because it takes a special kind of individual to want to face adversity and have that great family atmosphere to then join that A&M family. Buzz doesn't just take everyone. I feel like throughout the last 4 or 5 years, they've hit more on transfer portal additions because there is that extra step. It's not just how well do you play on the court, it's how are you going to factor in the locker room. And that's why you don't see like A&M having these stories of players blowing up in the locker room or being disingenuous to the media or acting out on the court. That's just, you never see that with an A&M player, and that's because there's that extra selection process that Buzz Williams and his staff go through.
Well, this is, I think, going to possibly be Buzz's most challenging year because now there are expectations that weren't there initially when he got here. When he got here, people, I think, were willing to be patient.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I don't think people are willing to be patient anymore. And now the fabric of your team is gone. So if the bulk of your roster is made up of people who have never gone through his boot camp, how difficult is that to make sure that your culture is established? Because before, not only did he have a culture, but the players led that culture after being here. Like Boots had a relationship with Buzz from before. So when he came in, he was able to kind of like, I know what it's like. I know a little bit of what it's like, I should say. I think that's going to be a real challenge for them.
Yeah, and you look at it, and it's Solomon Washington is the longest tenured player. Whereas think about last offseason, Pharrell Payne joins the team, and he's got 7 or 8 guys he can go through that or go to and talk that have been through 2, maybe even 3 of Buzz's boot camps. And now it's really on Solo and those freshmen and Jalen Lee who have been in the system for now multiple years who can attest to, hey, this is what we went through last year. This is how Buzz wants to operate his defense. Here's a tip that I learned. And it's just that passing along of information that you won't have next year.
I also wonder, how much do we remember of what Buzz's teams look like at previous stops? They weren't always like, they're always gritty, for sure, right? But I don't remember, like, I feel like he adapts to the players that he has. And the core group of this unit, the best way to win was the offensive rebounding approach. And I'm not saying that that's going to be abandoned, but I do wonder what it could look like. I don't think he's just going to recruit the same type of players and play the same type of ball if you're starting from scratch.
Yeah, and you've already kind of see that with who they've gone after in the portal and who they've contacted and been interested in. It's a lot of guys that shoot threes at a high level at 38%. There's even a JUCO player who shoots 48% from 3. So this is why I think it's exciting, because for me, all I've really known about A&M basketball and all I've seen and all I've covered is Wade Taylor, Anderson Garcia, and Henry Coleman. And I think it's exciting. On one hand, it's bittersweet that you'll never get to see those guys in the maroon and white ever again. But it's exciting on the other hand that this is a new roster and you are going to see them play, I think, a different style. And you're still going to have that rebounding, and they're still going after guys who rebound the ball from the guard position at a high level. But I think they're placing an emphasis on three-point shooting and free throw shooting. There's not a single player that they've reached out to so far. There's one that shoots below 82% from the free throw line. So they are able to identify their needs, and they know they don't shoot free throws well, and they know they didn't hit threes well. So they're actively trying to change that in the portal.
So they're going to be, because you have Pharrell Payne, an inside-out team, 90s basketball style. I mean, by the way, when you tell me they're recruiting nothing but three-point shooters, well, I know they're recruiting more than that, but it worries me because of the amount of three-points that they took this year, and I just didn't find that to be an efficient style of basketball.
Yeah.
Their offensive rebounds made it more efficient, right?
Yeah.
But it kind of worries me But if you got an interior presence like Pharrell, it could open those guys up.
Yeah, and Pharrell Payne won't be the only front court player that they're going to have. They're looking at players of the year from the Mid-Atlantic, from just a bunch of mid-major conferences, and I think 85% of the players they've reached out to are guards, and that makes sense because you're having to replace the entire backcourt, but they're not abandoning forwards and centers because at this point, I love what they've got in Pharrell Payne and Solomon Washington and Chris McDermott, but I think you need one more.
Yep.
And for so many years, size has not been A&M's strength. They've been able to rebound at a very high level with 6'6" and 6'7" guys, but they can go out and get now a 7-footer if they want. They can now go get a 6'10" guy who you can pair with Pharrell Payne and do what Michigan did and present problems for teams. So I think it's exciting that it's like free agency. You get to kind of build this roster back up, and it doesn't have to look like it did in the past, and it doesn't have to play like they did in the past. So who's to say they don't go out and get like a 6'4" point guard, and you now never have to worry about, or at least next year, you don't have to worry about your point guard being undersized and struggling more on the defensive end. So I think it's personally exciting that this is now kind of you get to build from scratch, but it's not really from scratch because who wouldn't want to play with a Pharrell Payne? Like you've got pieces that you can advertise and be like, do you want to play with a lob threat like Pharrell Payne? Do you want to play defense with a guy like Solomon Washington? And on top of that, they can offer playing time, which outside of Zurich Phelps joining the team last year, there was no roster spot to sell. There was no starting job to come in and win. Pharrell Payne had to earn that spot. And so now you can go to a guard and say, hey, you were at a high major school and you were coming off the bench, or you didn't get to start. Well, we've got a starting job for you at Texas A&M. So not just NIL, not just culture. I think it's big that you can now have that starting job open, at least in the backcourt, that you can attract players with.
When you look at the way Buzz has built his teams, they had been built through the portal.
Yeah.
But small additions, right? Like they're all Aggies.
Yeah.
But they were here so long it almost feels like they weren't a portal addition. But this team Andy was a portal addition.
Yeah.
Henry was a portal addition. Like this team, Zurich was a portal addition. Pharrell, but it wasn't like an influx of guys.
Yeah.
This year, I mean, there was 2 starters basically. If you consider Zoo and Pharrell starters, even though during the tournament they weren't starting, and then you make a point of every Sweet 16 except for Duke and Tennessee had starting lineups with at least 3 portal additions.
Yeah, well, I forgot about Purdue and Michigan State, but still the vast majority of these Sweet 16 teams are built from the portal. Like Michigan has more players that started their career at Texas Tech than Texas Tech does, which is just a symptom of what college athletics has become. And for so long, A&M wasn't really playing that game. And you can look at that as a positive or a negative. It's a positive that fans know who's on the roster and they have that connection with a guy like Henry Coleman, and they're able to watch this player grow for 2 and 3 and 4 years.
Yep.
But it's also a negative that is like that you're never going to cut ties with a guy who does your program well and who is an exceptional human being and can get it done on the basketball court. But that is ultimately there's a cap sometimes with what players can do. And now you look at the flip side of it being more of a revolving door and you're having players for 1 and 2 years. That's a negative from a fan standpoint, but that can also be a positive of if you're hitting at a higher rate on these transfer portal additions, your roster is only going to get better and better because that is the new wave of college athletics is building your roster from the portal. Look at Auburn. They have 1 guy in their starting lineup who started at Auburn. Look at Florida. No 1 player started at Florida. So
But again, I don't know enough about those cultures. That's not how Buzz builds his teams, though.
Right, but at the same time, the point you brought up about A&M making additions in the portal that don't feel like additions now. Like, people forget that Quentin Jackson came from a junior college.
That's right.
That Boots came from Virginia Tech. Like, these guys that we think of as Aggies were ultimately players that they found in the transfer portal. Like, nobody was recruiting Anderson Garcia when he was averaging 1 point a game at Mississippi State. And he became one of, if not the most loved players in Texas A&M basketball history. Like, people forget that he was not a highly touted portal addition. Like, people forget that Quentin Jackson was playing at a junior college, and he became a player that I think, in my mind, deserved a March Madness run, and he never got it. And for the rest of A&M basketball history, people are going to look back on that team that Quentin Jackson was on and wish that he had his time to shine. So Buzz has done it, making these small additions through the portal that have made tremendous impacts on Texas A&M basketball, but it doesn't feel like that because we don't think of these guys as portal additions. We don't think of Henry Coleman as a Duke transfer. We think of him as a Texas A&M basketball player that has done so much good for this program. But people forget that Buzz has made these additions in the portal that have turned out and their investments have become even greater than you could have ever imagined.
A little bit less than a month of this window, right?
Yeah.
I think it's this is a 30-day window. So how quickly do you think? I mean, because I feel like it can't be quick with the way they do their.
Yeah.
I know they started probably doing research well in advance, but like I feel like the window is open for 30 days. Doesn't mean they can only sign in that 30-day window. They can sign later, but I'm just curious how quickly you think some of these additions will take place.
I think it's going to go. I don't want to put a date on it and say you're going to have someone by the end of the week, but they know they have 6 spots available, which is the most they've had under Buzz Williams. And they were so active in the first day, and just the names that are on the portal thread, that's not everyone that they've reached out to. There are more that are going on behind the scenes, and this staff has been busy since the moment the portal opened at midnight. And they were even busy before that because there were players who entered the portal at the beginning of the year that they were able to contact and reach out to because, well, for various reasons, maybe their coach retired or they didn't want to waste a year of eligibility. There were players that were in the portal before the year even started in October and November that they've continued to build relationships with. There's JUCO guys that they've been in contact with. So the staff never rests. That's why Buzz leans on his staff with over 100 years of experience. And this is the time when you want to lean on those relationships. And I think it's a benefit that you have such an experienced staff around Buzz that they're able to work tirelessly day and night to build these relationships. And I wouldn't be surprised if it manifested itself in a couple commitments over the next couple weeks before that 30-day window is even closed. Give us some of the names that they're at least talking to that, do bring, that's interesting. I think the most interesting right now is the Mid-Atlantic Player of the Year in Amari Monroe from Quinnipiac. And I know when people hear Quinnipiac, they think of that Quinnipiac and A&M connection with Nebo, but he's a player that fits what A&M wants to do. He's someone who you can pair with Pharrell Payne in the front court and say that front court is locked up with the 3 pieces of Monroe, Payne, Solomon Washington, and then you've got McDermott to learn from. He averaged 18 points, 9 rebounds a game, shot 83% from the free throw line. He is someone that, and every player that A&M's talking to, they're not going to be an Aggie. But when I see that A&M is interested in him and has been communicating with him, that's a player that I'm already like thinking about what he could add to this roster because he is such an instant impact player. And the majority of the players they've been talking to have been those high major, mid-major players that were either players of the year in their conference or the leading scorer on their team that want to come up a level. Yep. And I don't think you're going to see power conference players majority entering the portal until the next couple of weeks. Once the tournament is over, once they get a better feel for how their own rosters are going to look over the next couple weeks. But right now they're attacking mid-major players at a high level and JUCO players. So that to me is, I think, where they're going to be making their hay is bringing those mid-major players up a level. Yeah. These players that they're bringing in, or talking to, I should say, I feel like, was it Drake that built their team based on a bunch of D2 players? Yeah. So kind of explain that and Drake had a great run. So how just because they're not a guy on an SEC team does not mean that these guys are not ball. Even Florida had some guys, right? Yeah. So
Just kind of break that part of it down.
Yeah, and those D2 players are now going to go play in the Big Ten at Iowa. And I think it's about system more than where you started your career. There's talent everywhere. Like Walter Clayton is going to be an All-American, and he was at Iona.
Right.
There are just players all up and down. There's players who were on Belmont a couple of years ago that are now all starting on Sweet 16 teams. There's players at FAU like John L. Davis and Elijah Martin and Vlad Golden who are all key pieces on Sweet 16 teams. So the transfer portal makes talent more accessible than it's ever been, and every player runs their own race. Every player matures at their own rate. Like Quentin Jackson is a great example. Like he was playing at a junior college, but he's not a junior college player. He's playing in the NBA right now.
Right.
So not just A&M, but a lot of these SEC teams are built on players who just needed that extra bump, like Grant Nelson coming from North Dakota State. He's one of Alabama's best players. Mark Sears coming from Ohio. Like there were players at mid-major teams and JUCO teams and non-Power 5 teams that can be high-level Division I players and be All-Americans. And Janai Broom was at Morehead State. The list goes on, and now A&M more than ever is going to need to find those hidden gems. But it's promising that you have so many players to choose from because there's never been more players in the portal on day one.
Am I right? Basketball also, I think, is a different, I think football is so much about, and look, there's guys that come from smaller schools, no doubt, that become studs and go to the NFL draft staying at the smaller school. But I feel like basketball is a different game that if you get the right guys in your system, you don't have to be the 5-star. Now, could there be some 5-stars they go after?
Yeah, there's players like Scottie Pippen's son who they missed out on. He ended up going to Michigan, and he's in the portal now. So, and Henry Coleman's another example of a guy that Buzz didn't land out of high school, but kept that relationship going.
Yep.
So when they enter the portal after their first year, okay, the school that I finished second for is now my number one option because I don't want to be at my number one option anymore. So I think Scottie Pippen's son, his first name is escaping me, but he's a player that A&M will probably pursue.
Not the same one that played at Vandy, right? This is a different
No,
one.
this is the one that was at Michigan.
Yeah.
That's another player that I think they'll end up pursuing. But yeah, that's why building these relationships out of high school and then keeping them open and never burning that bridge is more important than ever because there's ballers at every single level, and A&M now gets to take advantage of that.
You imagine Scottie Pippen coming to A&M games. We had Emmitt Smith at A&M game.
Yeah,
like
Justin
the 90s,
Pippen is his name. Yeah.
The 90s stars are coming in. Just do not listen to me talk about Scottie Pippen on the radio. They'll find whole bites of me not being a big fan. Hey, great stuff, man. Appreciate you, Luke. Great work this season. All right, we'll hit a break. We'll come back with a short open segment, and then we will talk to Matt Simon about some Aggie softball and get you ready for the rest of the week. Right now, if you're looking for a reason to move back to Aggie Land, or you are already in Aggie Land and looking for a great opportunity to work somewhere with awesome people, you should look at the Association of Former Students that likes to hire professionals. They typically have openings in several different departments: fundraising, communications, you name it, sales. They have so many different opportunities that do become available throughout the year. They're the nation's premier alumni association and the oldest organization supporting A&M in support of that Aggie network. They play a part in every Aggie story from Howdy to here. Don't miss opportunities to help out with Howdy Socials, Aggie Ring Day, class reunions, and much, much more. Join a team that exemplifies those Aggie core values of excellence, integrity, leadership, loyalty, respect, and selfless service, all in support of that worldwide Aggie network. So if you're interested in joining the team or sharing with someone that would be a great fit, please visit tx.ag/association jobs to apply and get more information on each position. It is the Association of Former Students. We're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Not sure why my voice went high like that. Let's go back to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Reed Neal's got something for us. Reed?
So over the weekend, Texas A&M women's tennis down number 9, LSU. Just some quick personal stats. Number 2, Mary Stoyana secured her team-high 15th ranked victory of this year. Number 17, Nicole Kieran claimed her 26th victory of the year. And number 61, Kupris winning her 18th match and 4th ranked match of the year.
Awesome. Yeah, we need to get Coach Weaver in studio real soon, and we also need to get Coach Denton. I'm going to reach out to both of them this week.
And then we also had a YouTube comment from Dan Allen. I don't know.
Dan Allen?
Yes, Dan Allen.
I'm assuming.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if it was. Yeah, but anyways, he says, I want to see Buzz develop the players he's already recruited and the new recruits coming on campus this summer/fall. If the portal becomes the foundation of player acquisition, we won't build a team.
I can't say I disagree with the thought. I don't know because I haven't seen the guys who haven't play, right? Like I haven't been invited to practice to watch what they look like. So I don't. Is there a reason they never got on the floor? Was the reason they didn't get on the floor was because you had such an established group that they can wait their turn? Or are they like the next man up? Have they been developed to a point? I don't know. Those are the questions. Whatever's going to get you to your end goal is what you do. And I don't know if you can, in today's college sports, use the same brush to answer that question. I agree, in a perfect setting, because you have to do it in football, right? You have to develop your guys. You have to, have your guys. And then you kind of handpick portal additions to make, and that's what I think Buzz has done in the past, is handpicked guys to add to the roster. But when you have that many seniors leaving at the same time, I think it does make it a little bit more difficult.
And then this was a little bit earlier, but it's more on the baseball side of things. Keith in San Antonio says, I realize the number of base runners is low, but are we doing much hit and run to try and force out batters to make contact and perhaps decrease the thought process at the plate?
Yeah, I'll talk to Bronny about that tomorrow. My thing with baseball, and you guys can let me know if you agree, I think a lot of it's right here in the head. A lot of what's happening. Pressing, not playing loose, believing maybe you're not the team that you thought you were, and thinking, but I know I can be. And trying to do too much. I think that's a lot of the issues that we're seeing. All right, we'll hit a break. When we come back on TexAgs Live, we'll talk to Matt Simon about some Aggie softball. If you got some text messages you want to get into the show, how you're feeling about things that we've discussed, about the portal, about spring football, about Aggie baseball, you can do it at 979-693-1150. Let's make a documentary film about your family right now. Okay, it won't be done right this second, but if you reach out to Chance McClain and his team, it can get done. We're talking about a documentary about somebody important in your life, in your family, and telling that 2-hour story in a Netflix-style documentary. That's what Chance McClain and his company at Heritage Films do. They do documentaries for normal people, right? Because we all have a story. I learned that in the news industry. Every person you talk to, if you ask enough questions, you'll find out the cool story, that human interest story that everybody can get down with. Everybody's got a cool story of how they found their wife, how they started their family business, how they started the family ranch, how they navigated through school and a part-time job to build themselves up to this awesome CEO. Whatever the story is, right? The Chance McClain and his team can tell it in a 2-hour form that you and your family are going to be able to cherish generation after generation. The website is yourheritagefilm.com. Yourheritagefilm.com. 713-893-8341. 713-893-8341. It is Heritage Films. When I hear this song, I think of Matt Simon, the voice of Aggie softball here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. We go to the Buppy's Catering Hotline. There he is, Mateo Simon. Matt, what's up, buddy?
Hey, let's let that song play a little more, man. That's good stuff.
That is good stuff, man. Hey, how much fun has it been the last couple years being around the Aggie softball team and just seeing the ascent of this program and Trisha Ford, just like, she was already a really good coach, but like she has transformed the national narrative of this program the last couple of years to where they are right now.
Yeah, it's been a real treat to kind of be around it and be as little as much, I guess I could say, as an inside as you can get being a radio person. But yeah, I mean, this is a program that I thought was, kind of fine before she got here. Played a lot of tight games, close games, just weren't able to kind of jump jump over the mountain a little bit. But there's just a belief shift now with her and her staff here now in year 3, and you can start to see it coming together with this program. And it's still, I was talking with her last week in Auburn, like you kind of joke, it's still only year 3, and it's really like the first half of year 3. So as you're building a program, it's still early kind of in the process, but she's got this group believing and really thinking that they can go do special things. Perfect case in point, David, was Sunday. Complete control of game 3 against Alabama, and then they come and punch you hard in the face, and they score 6 runs in the 6th, and just like out of nowhere, you're now losing, and you have a chance to lose the series. Talked with a couple of girls after the game, they're like, nah, we all knew we were going to come back and win that game. And they did. They won. They scored 3 in the bottom of the inning and beat them.
How do you think they looked at the weekend itself? Because it is SEC play. We know how good these teams are. It was a scary game 1. It became a scary game 3, complete control of game 2. Just, I mean, that's going to be par for the course, right? Like this conference does not give you an inch.
Yeah, buckle up, fans, because it's going to be like this all year. We were joking about it. I haven't talked with the kids to see kind of, their take on it, but the Aggies right now sit at 6-3. They could, if everything had gone against A&M, very easily could be 3-6 or 2-7. Tons of close games. It's going to be like that all season long for everybody. I mean, Missouri, who's at the bottom of the stand, Missouri's only win in conference play, David, is against number 1 Oklahoma, and that was this weekend. Texas had to walk off Auburn, who is 0-9 in conference play right now, and Auburn's played a ton of tight games. You can't, I don't think, realistically as a fan, walk into a weekend and expect that you're going to sweep someone. To me, it's keep yourself in the game as long as you can, find a way. And that's one thing we'll talk about in a bit. But this team, for whatever reason this year, has that belief in tight ball games. And I think it's a bit of a recipe for some end-of-season success.
Matt, and to be that level of team that we expect them to be, you have to win at home, and they've been excellent at home.
Yeah, and I will tell you this, and Coach has talked about it, the kids have talked about it too, that I've not seen Davis Diamond like this ever. The 12th man's been fantastic. They have been here from the get all season long. They have packed that place out. It is easily the most fans we've had at Davis on a season basis since it opened in 2018. And this weekend especially, and the fans that were there will know this, they were all tight games. Every single one of them was a tight game. When they had to get loud to either encourage the Aggies or pressure Alabama, they did, and they were loud. And that is the kind of atmosphere that I know Coach wants, I know the kids want, and it makes a difference, man. I mean, you've seen it in other sports. You go on the road and you're playing in a tough environment, that little bit of edge, when you're playing so many tight games, that little bit of edge can make all the difference in the world. So I love the fact that we can call Davis home.
Let's talk about Maya Perez. What an incredible season she started to have, and just talk a little bit about her growth and her leadership already as a young player.
Well, it's funny, too, because last year as a freshman, she came in as a highly touted freshman, and the kid that you, in talking with Jeff Harger, our hitting coach, and Russ Heffley and Coach Ford, the kid you're seeing now is the kid that they had, committed and they knew was coming with them. Last year didn't get a lot of opportunities. There was no opportunity to, really, because Trinity Cannon was having such a good year at first base. There was nowhere to really put her. It's rare that you have one swing sort of change your mindset, but Aggie fans remember that home run she hit in Austin. in Game 3 of the Super Regional, I think with 2 outs, maybe 2 strikes. That one swing, the coaches have said, like, really completely flipped. She's like, I can do this. You know, I can be good at this level. And she went into the off season, you know, completely different mindset. Now a sophomore, really committed to her craft even more than she was. And she is a deadly threat every time she steps in the batter's box. And it's not always home runs. You know, she's gotten on base by walks, hit batters, RBI singles, even ground outs, you know, grounding the ball out to move runners. Everything that she's been doing this year, she is a pure threat for the Aggies. And it's been a real treat to kind of watch her grow from that moment last year into this season.
How about the success from Sydney Lessentine, the fact that they have her that they can go to have that 1-2 punch? How big has she been?
She's been great. And I was excited that I think it was Florida. When Florida jumped, I wasn't excited that they jumped on the Aggies in the Saturday game, but it gave coach an opportunity to put the kid in. And she told us this weekend, we were talking with her before one of the games, she said, I thought maybe I had a diamond in the rough with her. You know, Alamogordo, New Mexico is not really a hotbed for softball, right? But it gave her the opportunity to face an elite program and get her feet wet in conference play. And then, you know, to watch her throw this weekend in some very critical situations. And, you know, if you think about it, the kid's probably 17 or 18. Alabama softball is a blue blood. When you're a kid playing softball growing up, you see Alabama softball on TV all the time. So you're stepping into the circle facing Alabama softball. That's a big deal to me, and I suspect to her. And for her to have the confidence and composure she did, she looked so composed on Sunday to get the save. I think she threw 2 balls to the first batter and then just settled in, pop out, strike out. We're done. So just another weapon in the arsenal for Trisha Ford. Last year, you know, the Aggies, as you watched that team all year, you know, they were light in pitching. That's not the case this year. And, you know, she can ride the hot hand. It doesn't always have to be Emily Kennedy, and this weekend was proof of that.
I was surprised to find out this weekend that Mac Barbara hadn't hit a home run since early on, but this weekend she sure made up for it. She's been great, but, like, I didn't realize that she had a home run drought like that.
Yeah, it was like 20 or 21 games or something like that, and she puts a ton of pressure on herself, and she'll tell you that. She says she gets, you know, the mental side of the game really kind of can affect her ability on the field. And remember, too, all she's doing is hitting. She's not playing in the field, so that's her craft, constantly studying film, constantly coming up with game plans. And she had started to scuffle and slide. I actually literally looked it up this morning and prepped for the game tonight. She got, I don't want to call it benched, but they gave her the day off in the Friday Auburn game. They said, okay, hey, take a break, take a breather. Her average had dipped a bit. And she ended up pinch hitting late in the game, hit an absolute rocket. It was an out, but hit a rocket. Since that game, Mac is hitting almost 600 in those 5 or 6, whatever it is, games. And just an absolute force. You can see the joy in her face again when she gets on base, getting the big hits. The Aggies need those two, Mac and Maya, really to be the force behind this offense, which I think is a good offense. That when those two are clicking, the Aggies are a big problem for opponents.
Matt, what can you tell me about Sam Houston?
Sam is, it's one of these interesting midweek games. You know, definitely I think on paper a game the Aggies should win, but these 3 teams coming in this weekend, so Sam Houston, or this week, I guess, Sam today, North Texas tomorrow, and LMU this weekend, they're all hot. They're all playing well. Sam's won 5 straight games. They seem to be scuffling a little bit offensively, but they are pitching very well. Aggie fans will remember their pitching coach, Lexi Smith, who pitched on the World Series team in 2017. Lex is their first-year pitching coach there, and she's been doing a really nice job. These are dangerous games for the Aggies. You know, these are teams that, you know, maybe you don't have to play a perfect game to beat them, but if you come out flat and uninspired, they can jump up and bite you. You know, the Aggies 2 years ago were beaten by Sam in Waco in the tournament. So it's a team that can get you. North Texas tomorrow, by the way, David, their RPI is basically a top 50 RPI. They've already beaten Oklahoma State this year. And then LMU, which is this weekend. It's the Aggies are the only team in the SEC out of conference this weekend. LMU is a perennial sort of NCAA regional type team. Slow start this year, but they're a West Coast team used to playing power programs, and they've won 6 in a row coming into the weekend. So Aggies can't just kind of sleepwalk through this 5-game stretch heading into Georgia next weekend.
Last thing for you, Matt. What is something that has surprised you about this group this year?
I will tell you this, and it's a stat that I find fascinating. I didn't go back and look at last year, but I'm going to go take a look. A&M has played a ton of close games, David. They've played now, let me find my number here. They've played 10 one-run games this year, 10 out of, what are we at, this will be game 32 tonight. The Aggies are 8-2 in one-run games, and they're 9-3 in games decided by 2 runs or less. It's sort of an intangible stat. You know, those, as you know, you watch a lot of diamond sports. They're not all going to go your way. But when you have that success in your back pocket, I just think that is such a great recipe as you head to postseason. I know we're only in March, but if the Aggies can continue with this success, they're going to set themselves up nicely for the postseason. And that right there is a number that I'm going to keep a very close eye on moving forward. I was talking with our good friend Amanda Scarborough today via text, and she was saying the same thing. There's some teams in the SEC that are not having good years in those tight ball games, and she thinks that she's going to have their stat people go look it up. These teams that have made the World Series in the last couple of years, what have they done in those tight ball games? And I think that's a recipe for the Aggies that could bode as kind of an indicator of success moving forward. We'll see.
Matt, great stuff, man. Look forward to hearing you on the show again, man. Thank you very much.
I appreciate it.
Later, bud. Matt Simon there on the Buppy's Catering Hotline. We'll hit a break here. We'll come back with some final thoughts, get you set up for tomorrow. Right now, the difference is real. Rollo Insurance, we all know when we get that renewal, it doesn't feel good, right? But at Rollo Insurance, it's going to feel good. Insurance markets have beaten you down, whether it's your business, your farm, or your ranch, or your home, or your auto insurance. Don't intentionally or unintentionally let your coverage get cannibalized. A real relationship with a real subject matter, an expert equipped with the full breadth of modern free market is the answer. What you need to do is go to rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs and start talking with your own personal agent today. They will take great care of you. Find out about all the great advantages it is to be a client of Rollo Insurance. I've done it. Everybody, so many people in this office use Rollo Insurance because they are the absolute best. 888-44-ROLLO or go to the website, rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. Remember, 60 offices in the great state of Texas, but their headquarters is right here on Highway 6. 888-44-ROLLO or go to rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. We're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Let me set up tomorrow's show. We'll do that here in a second. Let's check in at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. You had a quick report for us?
So this weekend, Texas A&M's Kamar Farquharson won the silver medal at the men's 4x4 for Team Jamaica on the final day of the World Athletic Indoor Championships, and this was on Sunday. He ran the third leg for the team's silver medal, and he ran the fastest leg of their team with a time of 45:41. The team had a combined time of 3 minutes, 5 seconds, and 5.05 seconds.
Great stuff. We're going to have Coach Henry on the program tomorrow. A couple things. First, before I do any of that, let me talk to you guys about, I'll do it here in a second, tomorrow's show. Kendall Rogers will be on there. We have some Aggie basketball to talk about, or baseball, excuse me. I think Bronny's going to be on with Recruiting Country. A lot of recruiting news to get into. We have Trisha Ford. We've been talking softball, so we'll continue that. Kay Nagley will join me for that. Pat Henry, as I mentioned, will be on the show. John Harris, and I believe Coach Tom Schuberth will join us for one final hit here on the show. So looking forward to that, having them on the program and just breaking things down. But before I let everybody go, I want you guys to get ready for the ultimate culinary showdown, the Pantry to Plate Chef Challenge, benefiting the Brazos Valley Food Bank. It's going to be on April the 10th from 6 to 8 at the Texas A&M Hotel and Conference Center. You can watch local chefs, Blake Zeitman of Zeitman's Deli, Irma Barrera of Taquero Mucho, and you have Tanner Purdom, I have to do the Spanish accent, of the Wild Garlic. Turn everyday pantry staples into gourmet masterpieces live and under pressure. You'll have celebrity judges Charlie Stover and Shane McCoffey, and KBTX's, I think Charlie Stover was on Yellowstone, by the way. KBTX's Carla Castillo and Alex Egan are your hosts. High-energy event packed with fun and flavor. Enjoy gourmet bites, beer, and wine, and the chance to shake things up. Bid to sabotage a chef's upgrade their ingredients or vote for your favorite people's choice. Can't make it on the night of? Donate online and support your favorite chef anywhere. Join the fight against hunger in Brazos Valley. Get your tickets now at bvfb.org/Pate, Chef Challenge 2025. I'm just reading what it says. All right, that's going to do it for TexAgs Live. We'll see you mañana.